Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boromant goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Boromant and Warner, but Boromant's got the inside.
A guest star here in this phenomenal race. Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see there, Putin's the lead. 1.5 seconds. DRS is the name.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to, of course, a little bit of E-Series action, Season 3, for the very first round around Azerbaijan, the streets of Baku. We quite often end up coming out of the Grand Prix saying, well done, Baku, but boy oh boy, I cannot wait to see what this street circuit provides for us today. I mean, there's a lot on the line, and there's a lot that a lot of these drivers can learn and kind of take into momentum to really find out and figure out how to operate this track. Because, of course, it's not a very common one we see. Yep. But, of course, I am one half of a commentating duo here, Josh JGM, and I'm joined by, dare I say, probably the best commentator we have here at PSGL, Nathan Richards.
Oh, thank you, Josh. Hello, and of course, you're also the best commentator. That's why we're here on E-Series, which is maybe bar F1 the best series here on PSGL. But yeah, I think the lineup for today is mental. The teams we've got are mental as well. Well, we was going to have a look at the lineup, but I can't get the graphic on, unfortunately. So we're going to have to just read through what we've got. We'll put the main screen on. You can see all the drivers in, and we can also read out what we've got. So, obviously, in leading community team TF10, we've got Tony Roche and Thomas Laminant. Then in Ferrari, we've got Istvan Pukki and Nicholas Longate. Then Mercedes, which is taken by TES this season. That'll be Tej Coulson and Jan Halliday. Race Clutch in the Alpine, they have Luke Smith and Reese Linton. Veloce Academy in the McLaren, they have Leo Lund and Mats Gross. Pointer RHG in the Sauber Alfa Romeo, they have Valentin Tayvard and making a return to league racing, Julian Klaffenbach. Then Aston Martin, which is SRC, they have Riccardo Benzoni and Shanaka Clay. NVR in the Haas, they have Timo Zelenkovic and Nick Bonventer. Then AlphaTauri, which is F7R, they have Tycho Hardy and Louis Valentin. Then Williams Racing, which is obviously Williams Esports, they have Keane Goldendorp and Ishmael Fassi. So Josh, this grid is absolutely mental, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely stat looking. I mean, you can look literally anywhere on this grid and find the amount of talent. It's ridiculous, man. I don't understand it, right? Like, how many good drivers are in this grid? How many drivers could you argue if you put them in PCF1, they can get race wins? Like, I'd say at least one from every single team, if not both of them sometimes. It's really just a joke. I can't even. I mean, we've even got the lovely little sponsored bear, Bob. He's not biased, but he's supporting Aston Martin for no reason. The SRC mascot. He's made a little prediction saying that Shanaka Clay is going to get poled by 2 temps.
Oh.
Don't think that one's going to be happening. But you never know.
Oh, the SRC in game overlay isn't there. Brilliant.
Oh, well, it's fine. We got Bob content. We have Bob.
We'll get it. Don't worry. Oh, what a start this has been. Hang on, guys. We're loaded in though, so you can at least watch the screen while I have a bit of messing about here.
Absolutely. I mean, Nathan, what are you messing about? Talk us through Baku. How have we found Baku at round 1? Surely it's not the safest play for him to do as. It's carnage here.
It's an interesting one, that's for sure. It's we don't see it too often. I don't think we've seen it at all in esports in the past. So yeah, I'm quite keen to see what it can bring.
I don't know whether I'm keen to see what it can bring or whether I'm worried for what it could potentially bring. I'm not sure. I'm really not. I feel like I'm a little bit tentative about some of the potential that this track can have, obviously considering the castle section.
Yeah.
Dare I even say turn 1 as well, because how many times have we seen it where drivers go too wide and accidentally have a little whoopsie-daisy in other leagues around here. But fingers crossed that won't happen today. We do have the pinnacle of the very best drivers in the sim racing community. And of course, we've got some of the very best, well, esport drivers here as well. Looking at the likes of Nicholas Longe, Istvan Pukki, Shanank Clay, all of them, everyone in this grid has at least, some ridiculous level of talent where you think, right, okay, how are they going to be able to wrap themselves around this circuit in a realistically their own unique way and their own sort of pizzazz to getting the car wrapped around the circuit, especially through a lot of these corners, which could be so challenging for drivers if they don't have too much experience on the game. But these guys are absolutely mental.
Oh, they are. Yes,
they can just dance the cars around.
I think one team we should be kind of looking at is not TFS, sorry, Ferrari. Obviously, with Nicholas Longe and Istvan Pukki, obviously both of those part of the Pro Series lineup at Ferrari Esports, along with Barry Burman. Those two are very quick. Nicholas, I'd say, is probably consistently quicker than Istvan on his day. But Istvan, we know if he can get that qualifying result, and he really can pump in a good race result. So I think these two are definitely a team to be feared of again this season. Obviously, they won it last season, didn't they, by over 50 points to Veloce Academy, who no one really expected to get second. The team didn't expect it themselves. Everyone kind of expected maybe a top 5 for the team, maybe a little bit lower. But no, they come home in second, and obviously that, 1-2 Monaco really helped them. Then they were just, constantly being in that top 5, constantly getting on the podium, which is something that helped them to get into that second position. But then again, Race Clutch were only 30 points behind. Then it was only about another 10, 12 back to RHG and Williams. So it was quite close between that second and fifth spot in the standings. So, this season I expect to be even closer because we've got we've got very new teams coming. We've got NVR, SRC, S7 are all making their first seasons here in E-Season. And yet again, they're 3 teams which have very good drivers. So I think maybe a little bit more than last season. I think we'll have a lot more close battling. But we do have some drivers on track starting laps, but they're on intermediate tyres. It's nothing we never see. It's just so people can test things without wasting a set of soft tyres.
Apart from Thomas Laminen, the TF10 driver in the Red Bull, currently P7 on the standings. No one's done a lap yet. But he's gone out on the soft compound of tyre. Now, I'm not sure whether that's, a bit of confidence from young Tomas, or whether he's maybe necessarily predicted some of the other drivers might be going out and he wants to try and get a little bit of a toe going down the main straight off of some of these intermediate tyre runners. But he's kind of found himself in a position here where he's only got his teammate behind him, so he could be a little bit stuck if he's looking to try and get a toe without necessarily breaking the rules.
Well, his teammate's behind him, so I don't think he's going to get much of a toe at all from the car that's behind him. As we can see now,
no, absolutely not.
heading into turn 1, we'll see what the first lap time will be on the soft tyres. Obviously, there is some on lap times, but they're on the intermediates. They'll probably also enter back into pits. I doubt those on the inters will finish the lap, as it's a very long lap around this circuit. As we can see, Tomas in towards that first corner. A bit of a lock up there on the rear left as he heads out that first corner now into another 90-degree left-hander at turn number 2 before he gets a dose of DRS down to turn 3. We'll see what he can do in this first sector. Obviously, I know a few drivers have been practicing like hell for this first round of ECs on Steam. There's constantly people who've been playing on time trial, been playing on Grand Prix mode and on multiplayer around this Azerbaijan circuit. So I definitely expect people to be very quick around here, especially on this first round in towards turn 4 now at the right hand up. And we'll see what this first set to time will be. The first set ends just after turn 5, which is where Tomas is coming up to shortly. A bit of a chicane into here at 35.440 is that first set to time from the TF10 Red Bull driver as he heads down now in towards turn number 7 before he heads in towards the infamous casual section. As we can see, Reese Linton there, the fastest time at 1:45.288 through into the castle up the hill. Oh, it hits the wall!
Wow.
Got it to the inside, and somehow the car didn't DNF. I thought that would have easily been a DNF, but no, he does make it through. But clipping that wall on the inside, then hit it on the outside, luckily not popping off a wheel. That was a big scare for the TF10 driver. I don't know how he's alive.
All right, I reckon that Red Bull's got some Gorilla Glue on it somewhere, because my word, how he was able to keep his suspension in check. I mean, that is miraculous for Tomas. But, it's brilliant that he was able to survive, tapping the wall at the castle section. But that is a set of soft compound tyres which has gone to waste now. And that could potentially have quite a big blow when he gets further into this qualifying session, if of course he ends up making it out of Q1 and out of Q2.
Yeah, I'd say this could definitely affect him going in towards Q3 if he can, because he could have less, tyres to use, and if he has to use that set of tyres, he's got a bit more wear, and that could lose him probably a couple of tenths on that lap, as we can see Jan Harde coming through also on a set of intermediate tyres. So after the first 3 runs on the Inters, it's going to be Luke Smith ahead of Reese, ahead of Leo Lund. Obviously, Leo announced today at the Veloci Academy team, so we'll see what he can do for the team. We know he's a very quick driver. I've commentated over him for a long, long time. And, he's only 14 and he's one of the quickest in the world. It shows something when you're that quick at such a young age. We can see Jan heading back into the pits now after he's done a bit of a test there on those Inters to make sure all of his equipment is working quite fine. And now we should hopefully see some cars getting ready to head out the pits to begin the first runs on... the first set time runs on the Sotos. Obviously, Tumas Laminen was going to do that until he hit the wall at the castle section. Luckily, made it through unscathed. I thought it would have been an instant DNF, but as soon as he hit the inside, he hit it on the right-hand side. Hey, we missed it. I do not have a clue how it didn't DNF. But then again, these cars are temperamental. Sometimes it would have been instant wheel popped off. Sometimes you could go in there and have no damage. Yeah, maybe not that extreme. But the game, it's a bit of a weird game in that sense. So if someone can do that on the first run on the softs, I'm sure we'll probably see that happen once or twice more here in this session. I'd say the castle section is probably one of the most difficult places to get right on the whole calendar.
Yeah, it's a horrible mix between having to carry the speed into the corner and then realising how close the barrier jumps at you from a right-hand side. It's going to be so difficult to manage and so challenging for these drivers, especially when they're pushing to, the extent that they normally do here at PSGL, let alone an E-Series. Just having that confidence to shut the car in, understand that it'll stick, and perhaps, maybe he was caught off a little bit. Maybe he's done some prior runs in time trial where the grip has been absolutely perfect, but it hasn't been, a slightly green track, a slightly rubber. It's been absolutely perfect. There's been so much grip on the circuit in time trial. Maybe he's done a Grand Prix where there's relatively little grip in comparison to an online session. And he's just sort of carried a little bit too much in there. It's normal. And I'm very, very glad he was able to continue and get back round to the pits and dive it back in.
Yeah, because that would not have been the best start at all.
No, that would have been horrendous start for TF10.
Yeah, considering that, obviously there was a top team in Season 1, top team in Season 2 for community terms. And obviously this season, the community team that's the highest in the standings gets an extra £100. That would not be a good start to that campaign for them. So we'll see if they can try and carry through those performances here in this season. But this season, I think the community teams have got more of a stance. There's more bigger drivers we've seen in these community teams, such as SRC with Shonak Clay. He's pretty much an esports driver. I will always call him an esports driver, no matter what. If he's been kicked out of Williams or whatever, or left Williams, in my eyes, he's still an esports driver.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so interesting, isn't it? Now we've got to a point where we're getting quite a few of these big community teams for big dogs coming in here, being able to support the esport level of talent in the community teams as well. I mean, take Max Wiesel for an example. He's obviously not on the grid tonight, but he's another one of those names where he could very easily go and jump into the esports and have a great run in challenges and push himself onto that esports grid with bags of potential. But he's more than happy to stay in the community team.
Yeah. Well, Max has said it's a hobby. He said he literally said he doesn't want to go to esports, which is something I found quite funny at first. And then, for him to put hardly any time and compare some of these other esports drivers and win a PCF1 race, it's definitely something, isn't it? But then again, he was a real racer, wasn't he? Back in, I think, 2009 Super Formula, I think he drove for, or something like that.
When you was probably celebrating your 3rd birthday?
5th. So you're not too far off now. Some people wasn't born then. I wouldn't. Actually, one person that wouldn't have been born was Leo Lund. Yeah, Leo would have been born when Max was racing. That's something, isn't it? One of the drivers on this grid wasn't born when one of our drivers, or one of the drivers here, one of the teams, was racing in real cars.
Yes. One of the now contracted Veloci Academy drivers, who may have just picked up a 5-second time penalty, wasn't even born yet. But it'll be interesting to sort of see how these drivers are gonna take this lap. Obviously, you've got Luke, Reese, and Leah, who have already put a lap time on the board. Although it was on intermediates, it's not exactly transferable, but it's still a lap time nonetheless. They'll always have a green delta. I'm slightly concerned about some of the drivers which might not have a green delta and might be slightly over-pushing the car and expecting a little bit too much. But so far, with Tycho Hardy going through his first sector, it's not looked bad at all, as he gets a 35-1 to do that first sector, and that's looking pretty decent in comparison.
Yeah, it is a nice first sector there for Tycho Hardy. Obviously, these first runs aren't going to be the quickest at all, and also we're in Q1. The lap time's also not going to be quick because of the track still being very green and not really having much rubber rubbed into it. As you can see, Tycho heading through now in towards the castle section, now up in towards turn number 13. As he heads round now, 3 little bits of kinks to the left before he hits the brakes on turn 16, which is a very difficult place to get right. You can easily lock up and go straight on in towards that wall. If he baits that curb as well, that will also lock you up and hit that wall. As he heads now down towards turn 17, which is pretty much the final corner on this circuit. We'll see what Tycho could do on this opening run at 1 minute 14.698 for the first and 2 second sectors combined as he heads through now. Back to the right as he gets some deer shortly. And this flat out section, Josh, is just over 2,000 metres long.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, you think the back straight at maybe a Vegas or Miami is long, and then you end up coming here, and you just realise, it's not actually that bad. It's really, really not. I will just really quickly want to adjust your eyes here to the 2 SRC drivers who have got a purple first and purple second sectors. Shenanka's got purple in the second sector, and he's looking to try and put in a solid lap time. But keep an eye on Riccardo Benzoni as well, who's got a purple first sector. He's going to be looking to try and improve on top of Shenanka's lap time, which would be absolutely magical if he was able to do so. Keep an eye out. There we go. Hopping up into P4. And now, I don't know whether I'll bring this up at this point, I really don't.
What would that be?
Can we class SRC as a community team?
Yes.
Because they've
got one esports driver.
True.
So to me, that makes them a community team by far. I think calling them anything apart from that would definitely be quite wrong. As TS10 Tanner O'Shea crosses the line, that's not ideal. Also from Laminen, look at that, Josh. 17th and 18th
That's
so far for the team.
See.
That is far from what they want. And also Valentin Tybard on the brink of being 18 Q1 after the first runs. RHG, with one of their drivers, Julian, being in 3rd and Valentin being in 15th, that also isn't an ideal start. But then again, Ferrari aren't looking ultimately strong like they did last season. Normally, we'd see them both in the top 5. But now we can see them 7th and 10th, which kind of isn't ideal. Yes, I know it's only the first qualifying session of the season, but it still shows they're not at that instant dominant phase like they was before.
It's interesting, isn't it, when you take into consideration the dominating performances they had last season, and you try and adjust it to what potentially could happen this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
this season, you see it in P7 and P10, but a little part of you still thinks, right, they've got something else in the bag. They can unleash a little bit more here, surely.
I think they definitely can. I think those two are probably, along with a couple of the quickest drivers on the grid. I think, not many people can beat them on their good days. Not many people can beat Nico and Istvan on their bad days. They're stupidly quick drivers, as we can see everyone now trying to fight back to the pits or getting ready to get out for their second runs. Obviously, in the drop zone currently we have TH Korsman for TES, along with the 2 TF10s of Tony and Tumas, and then Louis Valentin and Nick Bonventer. So not a good start for those teams, and unfortunately they're all community teams. So luckily for the esports teams, none of those have popped themselves into the drop zone just yet. But obviously the likes of SRC looking very strong. Williams also looking very strong with Ishmael in 4th and Kian in the top 8. Obviously Kian also very new to the Williams team, along with many other drivers being new to their teams as well for this season. Yes. So we've also going to see a bit of a change-up in terms of those grids, because some drivers have actually moved teams. As we can see, Zelenkiewicz, Tim Zenkovic, going to be retiring there on that 39.081. I think it's definitely good enough to get him through to Q2, considering P2 to P16 is 7/10 of a second.
Yeah, it's stupidly close. I mean, it almost always is here at E-Series, but we've got 3 minutes 20 remaining on the board. So a lot of these drivers, they're going to be setting on a new fresh set of tyres to go out, try and get a lap time back in, just try and creep slowly further up the timing ladder. Apart from, obviously, Zelenkovic, Fashi, I reckon we could also probably say Clay and Klappenbach are safe as well. They wouldn't necessarily have to go back out as Klappenbach retires there. But one of these drivers I want to keep a personal eye on here. It is going to be Jan Halliday. TES. He had an absolutely fantastic last time out. He had a fantastic time, didn't he? Last time out around Suzuka for the qualifying. put in brilliant lap time, proved me entirely wrong. I thought they would have been a little bit overconfident, but they absolutely weren't. They were bang on the money, as TES quite often are, with planning sort of their runs and understanding how the car setups work. So I'm going to be keeping a special eye out for TS Korsman and Jan Halliday to jump slightly further up and guarantee themselves through into Q2.
Yeah, I think TS, I'm hoping they can have a better season. Last season definitely wasn't one of their best. They finished 8th in the standings, and they was over 190 points back from Ferrari. That was quite far. So I'm hoping this season they can get some more points on the bag. Obviously, first to 20th, you score points. 35 points for the win, 1 point for 20th. So as long as you don't DNF, you're going to score points for the team, which I think is a good thing, a good thing, especially for those teams that near the bottom, because they can still get some consistent points. Whereas just say you're a team that's at the top and you're DNFing every couple of rounds, that could put you under a bit of a disadvantage. So I think the fact that everyone can score a team makes it equal, especially to also some battling further down. Obviously, last season we saw many battling for 9th and 10th. Every race was about for 9th and 10th in the standings. Obviously, it's not always the most entertaining to watch, but it's still, it's still good for the teams because they know they're at least fighting for something. They're not going to be completely dunked by the grid, even though they're nowhere near as quick. So they do have a chance to still have their own little battles and enjoy the championship, even though they're not winning. As we can see now, the top 7 all DNF from the sessions in the pits. They know they don't really need to improve on any of their lap times at all to get themselves through towards Q2. So now we'll see what the lap times can be from TH Corden. He said in there just to begin his next lap, followed by the 2 F7Rs as well. They'll also be beginning their lap. So Josh, over to you for what could be quite an interesting final part to qualifying.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to be sitting with TS Korsman here, having a little look at where he's able to pick that braking point, making sure he rides the curb on the right-hand side to flick it back in over the left. Keeping it within the track limits, which is going to be absolutely critical. Though you might think, surely there's a wall there. How can track limits exist? They could still find a track limit time penalty just by running that little bit too close to the wall and having a bit too much of their car outside the white line before he ends up reaching the braking point, heading down to the left-hander before he swaps it back over to the left to open it up for this right-hander, running it nice and wide, basically as wide as he physically can, and then that'll come to an end of Sector 1 before we've got a beautiful little left-right chicane where he's going to sacrifice all the speed going into the left to try and carry out to the right to this very small little... what would you call it?
A corner.
I would... No, absolutely not. I'd call it a diabolical sin before he ends up clipping into the castle section, loses his front right end plate, I believe, there, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he absolutely has, before he ends up coming up over this crest here to the double left-hander, which he takes completely flat out in this spec of car. It's absolutely beautiful to watch before slamming on the brakes before he heads downhill here, and he clips a little bit more of his front wing off. He's going for a Monza setup here by the looks of it, is TJ Korsman, with absolutely no front wing on his Mercedes now. He'll be looking to use that little bit of extra straight line speed to try and find himself any amount of time he can down the straight before he ends up flicking to the right, but he's had to shift down and slam on the brakes through what should have been the flat right-hander, so that of course cause him a load of time, and it wouldn't surprise me if we end up seeing him fall out of qualifying because of that, and he's dived it back into the pits.
Yep, so that is it there. It's Tiger Hardy up into P4. Brilliant laps on there from the S7R driver. We've got Louis Valentine coming through as well. What can he do as he heads along? He goes into fifth there, so very strong from S7R. That knocks Tyvard then into the drop zone. We'll see what he can do as Gross points it into the top 5 now. And Jan Halliday, Josh, only managing P14. That is not safe at all for the TES driver. Nick Bonventer out of qualifying from VR.
Yeah, no, it's certainly not exactly what you would like to see. Keep an eye on Reece Linton here. He's going to be coming across the line to make it P11. Oh, Tony Roche 16 as well. Right, this is going to be very, very close. I feel like it's going to end up coming down to Valentine to see whether he's able to just jump ahead. And potentially, I believe he got 15th there. Yeah.
Whew. Well, that was close, wasn't it? that was very close to Tyvard, yeah.
Very, very close. That's interesting. It was also very, very close for Nicholas Longue there as well. But I feel like we should run you through the order. Of course, we've got the Wonder Kid, Leo Lund, currently sitting P1, Pippin, Shenango Clay to P2, and then Zelenkovic P3, Klaffenbach P4, Tycho Hardy P5, Istvan Pukki P6, Grosspointer P7, Kian Gullindrop, I think I said that right. Time's going to kill me if I didn't. In P8, Louis Valentine in P9, Ishmael Fassi P10, Riccardo Benzoni in P11, Reece Linton P12, Luke Smith P13, Nicholas Longue P14, Valentine P15, all getting through to the next qualifying stage with Jan Halliday, Tony Richet, Tyus Korsman, Nick Boventrin, and Tumas Laminen all falling short at the first hurdle here in the qualifying for E-Series. But, of course, qualifying is not where the points are made.
No, definitely not.
Absolutely.
Well, the points are made in the race, but literally they're made in any position in the race this time. Normally it's a top 10, but here it's every position, as you already know. So, TF10 are still going to be scoring points, even though both of their drivers are in the drop zone. And luckily for the drivers, it's not raining. It's still dry here in Baku for the start of Q2. Obviously, some drivers can go out on another set of new tyres, because I didn't have to use any more in Q1. But some drivers might have to use an extra set. Might have to use a used set in these first runs, because they won't have enough to keep going new run after new run after new run. So we'll see what those different strategies are from the teams. We've got Nicholas Longate already out on the circuit very early here for the Ferrari driver. So we'll see what his plan here is in this session. Then we can see as well one of the Williams who will be coming out. That'll be, I believe, Ishmael Fassi maybe. No, it'll be the other one. It'll be Keane Gondup heading out onto track in the Williams. So we'll see what he could do as well in this first part of the qualifying session. Obviously, good to see both SRCs making it through. Also, great to see both of the F7Rs making it through here to Q2.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, both of them have been putting themselves out there as potential front runners for this community. Standpoint where we have seen the likes of TF10 hold this position of the community for so long, being the top dogs, so to say. And they're certainly going to start getting challenged now by the likes of SRC, F7R. I mean, even Novus as well, having a great opportunity to really put up a challenge to them.
Yeah, indeed. I think the thing is about this is there's that many drivers that are capable of doing well. You got, in terms of community drivers, you got Ricardo Benzoni, who's been looking well. Obviously, used to be OP Benza back on the PlayStation side. You got Max Grosspointer, used to be, I think it was like, I don't know, was it PSR Max or something? I can't remember. He was also on the PS side. You had Reese Linton, who was PSR Sav, I believe, on the Xbox side. Valentine used to race on PlayStation. A lot of these drivers here who aren't even in esports teams have got the pace to do so. And I'm sorry if I butchered anyone's name, because I don't remember who races what on Xbox and PlayStation. I went straight to PC, so I kind of missed that phase of the F1 community. But there's certainly drivers that are now working their way up to becoming part of esports teams. Many of them now being in development teams or being in the academies of these development teams. I think it's great to see, and I think this whole grid, I think every single driver at one point has deserved to be race at the top, and I think it's good to see as well for drivers that might not have had the chance to before. Toko Hardy and Louis Valentine haven't seen the race here before. F7R made it through. They've now got a chance with their rosters to pretty much race as probably 2 or 3 rounds each, if not more.
Yeah, absolutely. And it almost feels like every single time we're in a new series booth together, I always point out how strong all these drivers on the grid are. But, it obviously elevates further from what we just see on the screen here. Each one of these drivers has a team of engineers which work with them to calculate strategy, calculate the setups, help them out in that direction. Teammates that they race with to practice and learn from one another for racecraft. There's such an in-depth team between, every single one of these drivers, whether that's on the community side or on the professional esports side, wherever or however. It's just absolutely wild to consider how many of these drivers get the support they need from their team to really try and crank out the absolute perfect lap around, some of these very difficult and technical circuits, such as Baku. I cast my mind back to Monaco as well, where we saw Dylan Warren go and absolutely do a mad one at the start of a race. I'll never forget that race. It's probably one of the best ones I've ever casted, because it was absolutely just manic. And I mean, take Keane as a brilliant example of those who flourish with those around him. He's joined the Williams outfit, and he's never really looked back, has he? He's been on absolute terror form recently, in other competitions here as well. So I'm going to be very, very excited to see what he's going to be able to whip up here tonight in the Williams car as he just follows it through that last right-hander there, which realistically it's not even a corner, but apparently it is according to the FIA, because they have to use a certain degree of steering angle before he ends up diving it back into the pits. Now, something that we should point out as well is during the little race briefing, all the drivers got told to be very careful about the white lines on pit entry and pit exit.
Yeah, well, that could definitely cause trouble for some if they haven't read it, but I hope they all have.
Yes.
You know, it's kind of in terms of safety. You know, you don't want to see drivers going to the pits and just flying out onto circuit. You want them to stay to that pit line to kind of, you know, so everyone knows where they're going to end up veering out onto track. Obviously, turn one, it's quite blind, so you don't want to come around the corner and be like, oh no, there's a car there in front of me. You know, that car has to go all the way pretty much down towards turn 2 before it can make its way back onto the normal racing line. So I think it's a very safe thing for the driver to do and also consider. And I think, you know, they all know how to enter into pits, they all know how to exit pits. If they can drive around 200 kilometres an hour around Baku, I think they know how to not go over a white line at the pit lane. So I think hopefully everyone will make it through nicely. But then again, it has been happening before where people have broken that rule by accident or on purpose. You know, we don't know. So, yeah, it's not always the easiest to follow. But hopefully none of them get themselves into trouble tonight, because it wouldn't be the best, would it, to start off your season with a penalty because you went over the white line at the pit lane. It definitely wouldn't be ideal. The team would also be quite angry, as we can see. Leo Lund, obviously racing for Veloce Academy, he's heading down now into turn 15. His teammate Max Grosspointer also out on circuit as well, literally with everyone, as they've all gone back out. Obviously Nico and Keane went out early, and they didn't really set any good set times in the first sector, so, you know, they just kind of went for it and thought, well, we'll go back to pits and go back again. There's no point just going round and wasting time, is there?
No, as you know, it's not necessarily a great use of tyres, to say the least, by just going round and taking your time, having a little sightseeing around the streets of Baku. But of course, Leo Lund is one who chooses not to do his sightseeing on the track he's driving at. He'll prefer to do the sightseeing from the podium, where he's going to be looking to try and end up today. It'll be a tall task, but given away this week's gone for Leo Lund, I feel like anything's possible. You saw him as well, revving the car out to its absolute maximum extent on its outlap, just to try and burn as much fuel as possible before he ends up setting off on this flying lap. Now, there's still 8 minutes left in the session, so they should be able to theoretically get another 2 laps in. They'll get this lap on the board, they'll go again for the last run. So it's going to be absolutely crucial for these drivers who are just starting their laps now, looking at Louis Valentine, Reese Linton, just to get a lap time on the board before they can really start pushing, you know, their delta time and just trying to whittle away bit by bit. We'll keep a little eye out on this first sector time for Leyland and be able to compare it to what he did in Q1 to sort of get an eyeball for track evolution. And I'll tell you what, it's absolutely bang on perfect what it was last time as well. So, does it look like the track's evolved too much from Q1 to Q2? But we know after this run as well, the drivers are going to be also just finding a little bit of extra time trying to get through back to Q3 to get another fresh set of soft tyres.
Indeed, but I expect many drivers as well to be on the set of the used, you know, soft,
yes.
So they will definitely lose time in that regard. As we can see Leo coming down now in towards turn 15 very shortly, and we'll see what he can do into here. Just brakes late, just tries to get the car nice and turning without locking up and going straight on, because that wall is not a place you want to meet with your front wing at all. As you head down to turn 16, yet again back to the left here, purple in that middle sector with a 14.514 there for the first and second split, as he heads through now in towards the final few corners, which, to be fair, are quite horrible corners. If you turn a little bit too early or too late, you're going to smash into that wall in 8th gear at over 200 kilometers an hour. It's not going to be in fun sight at all. So people say, oh, that's an easy part of the track, but you know, if you mistime it by you know, a millimetre, you're going to be a little bit in trouble. As you can see, Leo Lund there sets a 139.457, a little bit tight off of what he did in the first session, but then again, they're on used tyres, so they will be slower.
Yeah, and Louis Valentine's going to be coming across the line now as well with a 138.9. Dare I say we're going to see that pipped by some used tyres throughout the rest of his grid. Let's keep an eye out as Max Crosspointer decides to absolutely take on that challenge and go for a 138.801. Now, the rest of the drivers are going to come across the line. Just make sure they've got their lap times in the window. But realistically, all of them are going to be sort of eyeballing where they could lose time, where they would have lost time from the last runs. For engineers are going to be constantly, you know, feeding back the information to how much throttle percentage they used around certain corners, how much brake they used going into the entry of some corners, how quickly they lifted off it, how gentle they were on the throttle application coming out of some of these absolute critical corners. All that information is going to get absolutely, you know, chucked back at the driver while they're on the run lap, while they're in the pits, while they're setting the new set of tyres on, while they're potentially changing the front wing on their setup. Anything within park firmware regulations, just to try and dial the car in that little bit further to make it a little bit more comfortable to drive, just allowing them to maximise any sort of lap time they can.
Well, after the first soft runs here in Q2, the drop zone, Josh, is quite interesting. We've got Luke Smith for Race Clutch, we've got Riccardo Menzoni for SRC, Nicholas Longue for Ferrari, Leo Lund for Veloce Academy, and Valentin Tyler for RHG. Obviously, I think most of them there are probably on a set of the used tyres. I think definitely for Nicholas and Leo, unless they just made a large mistake. So, yeah, if that isn't the case, and they're on new tyres, that is not very good at all going through, possibly, in towards Q3. Obviously, Nicholas in 13th position needs to at least gain, 4 or 5 tenths on his lap to get through to Q3. Onto that top 10, I'd expect him to probably want to gain probably a couple more tenths than that to keep himself safe. So obviously Nico and Leo need to find bundles of time on their next runs. Obviously Timo Zelenkovic at the top so far for MVR with a 1:38.781. That's a very good lap time for him, only 20 thousandths so quicker than Mats Grospoort, who's only a little bit slower than King Goldenup, who's only a little bit slower than Julian Klaffenbach. The top 4 in Q2 at the start, separated by just shy of half a tenth of a second, Josh.
It's ridiculous. That's less than a blink of an eye. It's, you know, it's just the quality they have. All these drivers, you can almost guarantee, are running completely different setups. Maybe not entirely different, but all of them have been dialed into their driver's liking. And the fact they're able to find, you know, with different braking zones, with different breakpoint markers, we're all able to find time somewhere along the track, whether it's down the back straights, having, you know, a slightly slipstreamier car with less drag, just picking up a couple extra kilometers per hour going down the straight, or those who choose to maybe dial in a little bit more downforce, make the car a little bit more stable through that middle sector. It just goes to show the absolute quality of all these drivers being able to do anything. It's absolutely fantastic.
It is indeed, and I think yet again the team that I'm looking at now is S7R, 5th and 10th. They're having a really good opening session here in qualifying for the first round of the E-Series Championship. Obviously, they failed to qualify in Season 1. I think that was known as TF then. Failed to qualify in Season 2 as S7R. Season 3, they made it through and are now looking to be on for some very good points as long as they can make these Q2 runs work. At the end, obviously, people will be finding improvements. If they don't find anything, they'll probably all drop down into the bottom of Q2. So they will need to make sure they can still find some key improvements on their next lap times. Reese Linton out of the pits for Race Clutch. His teammate Luke Smith is in the drop zone currently, which is not ideal for him at all. He's on a 1:39.176 over, well, it's what, 1.5, 2 tenths slower than Reese Linton so far, so he needs to find a lot of time as well to get himself through in towards that top 10 for Q3. Leo Lund also on an out lap. He is well struggling there at the start with a 39.4. He needs to find at least 5 tenths just to get himself out of that drop zone, so he's got a lot of work to do on this final run. And I think the issue that Leo can have here is he's in a way so far down, he's got to push a little bit harder, and sometimes pushing that little bit too harder can end you up in a wall. You're around Baku. That chance is probably a little bit more higher.
Yeah, and then, you know, you take that little bit of added pressure that you didn't necessarily need, you know, with the fact that the walls are so close and that you're pushing, you're playing a risk, you could potentially jeopardize not only, your chances of getting through to the next session of qualifying, but drivers behind, your teammate. There's so much on the line for drivers, especially when we're out towards the front of the field, such as Leo is at the minute. It could crumble pretty quickly, but we've seen what this young lad's been capable of here at PSGL before. Obviously, I had the great pleasure of casting over him for this last season in F3, and he's, the next coming to Kimi Räikkönen. His raw pace is absolutely phenomenal. He doesn't give into pressure easily. He's able to hold his own. He's able to just drive the car, and then we'll talk to him sometimes in the interview room. And it's like he's not even just had a race. It's like, I can't remember such and such an overtake. And I'm like, Leo, mate, you literally pulled one around the outside of one of your championship rivals. No, I don't remember it. I was just driving.
Yeah.
He's so just relaxed and chilled, and I feel like that's sometimes the best way you can be, especially when it does come to a very important event such as E-Series.
For a driver that isn't having that no care attitude, or not be able to kind of put into mind what you did, doesn't that cause quite a scary attitude in the sense of this driver can be attempting a lot more than they already are, and they're not even thinking about it. So when they push hard and when they're actually focusing, what they can do is absolutely mind-blowing. And I think Leo was, I think he's shown that recently a lot. I've seen another championship, he took back-to-back victories in 2 rounds, which is just mental. In one of them, he bet Luke Smith, which is not a driver you can easily beat, especially as a 14-year-old in an academy team. You know, it's a brilliant thing for him to do. So I think, you know, if he can get this run underway and he gets into Q3, there's no reason why we should not be at all saying he can't get a podium, because I think he definitely can. If he gets through to Q3, I'm going to say it, he will be on the podium.
Yeah, it's just building that confidence for Leo, isn't it? He's just got to end up just making sure he's checking the right boxes for his own mental well-being for this session. Just building that confidence before he ends. Oh, we shouldn't talk about it.
No.
Why?
Oh no!
Oh, the commentating curse is back.
Wow.
Oh dear.
Oh dear me. Well, there we are. It's back, and it was like it last season.
I am so sorry, Leo. Oh no!
I know exactly who I'm going to message off now. This will either be him or one of his engineers, because I think one of his engineers is engineering tonight. The ones I know.
I've just had a Discord thing. I don't want to look at it.
Yeah, sorry, Leo. Sorry, Veloce. That is our fault. And Zelenkiewicz out as well. He's been at the castle, so Zelenkiewicz will be out as well, even though he had the fastest time. Because he's binned it, that means he's completely out. And Riesling goes to the top with a .723, and he was way far ahead of anyone else on circuit. We've got the Ferraris coming through. That'll be Nicolas Longe, who's invalidated. Nico's out of Q2.
That is absolutely mental. Let's just keep an eye out for some of the rest of these drivers. Okay. So, Luke Smith, is he going to be able to improve on his lap time? Just give it a moment. Yes, he will. P2. Beautiful lap time. Tycho Hardy is going to be the next one we're going to be looking at. He also improves. Surely, Ismail Fassi. Surely he's got to improve. I'm looking at him here in P12. That's not where we'd normally see Ismail Fassi. He's normally up towards the front fighting. And it's only P11.
Wow.
What a Q2 session with a lot of surprises there.
And Nico had a car ahead of him in the castle as Golden Duck goes quickest. So yeah, Nico was out because of someone getting in the way at the castle section. And our last season's champions, Josh, are double knocked out in Q2. Issam Pookie and Nicolas Longe won't be making it through to Q3, along with Ismail Fassi, who is probably one of the quickest qualifiers on this grid. So, yeah, it's a big shame for those. It's a big shame for Leo Lund as well. It's a big shame for Tarvod, and also Timo Zelenkiewicz, who had the fastest time and would have still been in the top 3, but he binned it at Castle, so that completely knocked him out. So, some very big and surprising names knocked out here in Q2, but obviously SRC and F7R making through both of their drivers into Q3. Those two community teams did a brilliant job here at the start of E-Series, but some very big names, 3 of them, going out in Q2.
Not exactly what you would have put in a bingo card here. We know Baku can cause crazy racing, but qualifying not always as manic, but certainly not been that way so far, as we've got Kian taking the fastest lap for that Q2 session, followed by the race clutch duo of Reese Linton and Luke Smith, with Max Grosspoint of the Veloce Academy P4, Tycho Hardy, Julian Kappenblock, Valentin, Shananka Clay, and Riccardo Benzoni all moving their way up into Q3. And then, of course, you've got Timo Zelenkovic, who's an honorary Q3 appearance, I guess, from the garage. We'll take it as that. He would have got through.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he won't be able to do a lap, so he'll be starting from P10 with Ismail Fassi, Istvan Pookie, Nicolas Longe, Leo Lund. I mean, those 4, as well as Valentin as well. It's just ridiculous, the amount of quality which has just gone out in that session. What an opportunity for the likes of SRC, for F7R, Race Clutch as well, to all pick up a brilliant start to the season before looking forwards down the calendar against these, you know, really well-established drivers and teams. Having one of the Williams drivers out as well, especially being at Fasci as well. He's absolutely brilliant for these drivers. They've got a brilliant opportunity now to deliver some serious points come the race time. But first, they've just got to make sure they get a solid lap time in here at Q3.
They have, and we got drivers heading out already. We've got Libby Valentin heading out for F7R. We'll see what he can do here at the start of Q3. S7R happy with getting both drivers in towards this third qualifying session. Also gives them a bit more airtime here on the E-Series broadcast here tonight. Obviously, joining them with both drivers through is Race Clutch and SRC. Race Clutch, the only esports team, we should say, to make both their drivers go through into Q3, that being with Reese Hinton and Luke Smith. That is not something we really expect to say at all. And both Ferraris last season's champions out in Q2. Obviously, we have one of the RHGs being Klaffenbach through into Q3. We have one of the Veloce Academies obviously being Max Grosspunter through in towards Q3. Williams for Keen Godendorp. But yeah, the fight for pole, I don't know who it can be. And Josh, I'm going to ask you the question now. It's a bit early, but who do you think is going to take pole?
I don't like you put me on the spot like that, Richie. I'm not exactly a fan. I'll tell you what. In the sake of keeping this unbiased, and from what I've seen, in other series throughout my time watching him, I'm gonna have to say Kian. I don't know. He's just got that something about him.
I don't know.
Where he can almost pull a 10th and a half, almost out of nowhere.
I think it's just it's so close. It's actually hard to decide. I'm literally sitting here now thinking, who do I decide?
Because I can see Kian doing it. I can see Louis doing it. I can see Luke doing it.
I'm on my screen now. I've got him on my screen, and I'm going to go with Julian Klaffenbach. Now, listen, he's had some allegations in the past. He hasn't been in PSGL for a long time for many reasons. He's back here now with RHG. I'm going to go for him for pole, but let's on the chat, everyone. We want to know who you think will get pole position here tonight. Obviously, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams through in towards Q3. So let us know who you think will take pole, and if you don't know which person exactly, tell us what team you think will take pole position. Obviously, Josh, you're going to say Keen Godendorp. I'm going to say Julian Klaffenbach, but obviously we want to hear from you in the live chat. We'll look at the Twitch stream as well shortly, but we can see Josh, Louis Valentine heading out as well now to begin the lap as he heads down towards turns 1 and turns 2.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolutely mammoth task to sort of find himself in a position to be able to take this AlphaTauri to the very top of the timing sheet come the end of the section, but Louis Valentine is certainly up for that challenge. You can see in the AlphaTauri now, beautiful liveried car before he ends up flicking it over to the left, making sure he doesn't clunk that inside curb too much before he takes it back over to the left-hand side, opening it up, taking a nice wide exit, running nice to the wall on the left, making sure he doesn't flick the car over too early, otherwise he's going to be losing so much more speed as he's got that purple sector 1, as you would expect from a first driver doing that lap, but it's all up for grabs for Louis Valentine. He clunks over that curb on the inside there, but the hellish corner before rising up through the castle. The sun gives him a cheeky little flashbang. It's almost like you're back to playing the good old Call of Duty games before running out to the white line, just following a sort of the beautiful flowing nature of this road here around the streets of Baku before jumping it over to the right, hard on the brakes, running it so close to the wall. Closer you run it to the wall, the less time you lose before he ends up watching, just waiting for that apex before he can really try and get back on the throttle. Push it all the way down through these horrible corners we've already talked about before. If you take a millimetre too much, you can always clap up the wall, but Louis Valentine there, he left a little bit on the table, so you could probably expect Louis Valentine to improve his lap time by maybe half a tenth, maybe a tenth, depending on whether this is a fresh set of tyres, but we'll soon find out as he sets a 1:39.1 coming across the line. Well, I can almost say we would expect that to get improved by a significant amount.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think you'll find a lot more time on that, especially in this session. I know people in practice were doing 0.3s and 0.4s, so there's still a lot of time to gain. But looking in the chat, we can see lots of different predictions on who they will take. Probably got Shanaka saying Stretch, already says Keen as well. Check Mapping says Shanaka Clay. Either says Keen or Max. Lewis says Reese. Tommen says Max or Reese should have pole pace-wise. William says Julian. And Tommen also says All Duty, which is obviously Julian. Klaffenbach. Crispy says Luke. And then Red Adventure also says Julian in the Twitch chat. Aspect says Shanaka, Keen or Reese. At the moment, I'm seeing Shanaka and Julian being the two main picked here so far, as Julian actually goes quickest there, but with a 38.9, that definitely has more time to gain. Keen Godendorp, we'll see what he can do. He's also been multiple times voted for pole. He goes into second for now with a 39.028. We've got the two SRCs coming through shortly. We'll go on board with Shanaka Clay as he comes through in towards the final couple of corners. Reese Linton there into P5. As that was, I believe, Louis. No, that would have been. That's Grosspunter, sorry, into P4 there with the 39.149, just 5,000 separating him and Louis. As that'll be Luke Smith to the top with the points 892. What can Shanaka Clay do? He goes to the top with the points 838. What can Riccardo Benzoni do? Can he make it a 1-2 here for SRC? Yes, he can. At 0.798. SRC after the first runs here in Q3 are sitting first and second. Riccardo ahead of Shanaka. That is very good for them here tonight.
How are they all within a tenth of each other? It's ridiculous. The amount of quality all these drivers have. I can't mentally comprehend it. How close they all are on track, and also the fact that all these drivers will go and get another run. There's still 5 minutes 50 left of the session. I'm sure they'll be trying to whiz back to the pits as soon as they possibly can before they end up going and delivering another lap. But I mean, dare I say it from SRC? What they got burst into the world a couple of weeks ago?
Well,
And they're currently looking at maybe a front row lockout for the first round of E-Series.
I can't jinx.
I mean, we've already jinxed Leo. We might as well balance it out and give everyone else a jinx.
I feel so bad for him. He's like, yes, he's going to do brilliant. He gets the Q3. He's on the podium. About 30 seconds later, hello, Castle section. Can I hit the wall? Yeah, that's what Leo's car said, and it unfortunately meant he was at the session in P14. So that is not ideal whatsoever. But then again, he's got good race pace. He's up to P14. He can definitely make some positions. And also, remember, 14th place, Josh, does score you 7 points. It's not, it's not the be-all, end-all. You can still get some very good points from being completely outside that top 10, remember. Obviously, 10th place scores you 11 points, and it goes 11, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 25, 28, and 35 for first position. So a lot of points on offer. But if you're a team that's normally sitting between that P3 and P10, the battles there in terms of the championship are going to be so close, because it's only, about 15 points separating 8 positions?
Yes.
It's quite a lot.
It's so close, and it really just incentivizes all these drivers to realize that every position counts, every fastest lap counts, and at the end of the day, every single point they can pick up can help them in the latter stages of the championship, even if it's not directly for a top 3, a top 4. There's still points which could potentially be got depending on how well the other community teams do. So I feel like it's a brilliant incentive to encourage a lot of these drivers to really keep pushing, keep trying throughout the course of a season, and necessarily just keep giving it their all. And I feel like that's something that, especially in E-Series, you can see blatantly with a lot of these drivers. You mentioned it before. We're in a position where we're fortunate enough to have the majority of these drivers in the lobby, if not all of them, on our friends list on Steam. And you'll see them religiously practicing certain tracks before a race comes up. I'm not sure about you. Do you have the slight hint to Steam call them whenever you see them in a practice session? Because sometimes I'll look at them and I'll think, I could Steam call you right now and really put you off and ruin your practice session, but I don't. Although it would be quite funny to me.
See, if I did that, I'd just get called a commentator. And I'll get insulted heavily. So I'll just leave them to it. Or, there's some drivers in here that I'll speak to a lot. And I'll just try and waffle onto them in VC, and they'll end up losing concentration. I'm like, well, should have deafened, because I was like, you made me make a mistake. There's a deafen button, right? I know I do it on purpose, but, it's quite funny. But then again, they put a lot of time and effort into this.
Yes.
Some of them have probably got over 50 hours on the circuit. I was looking back through Steam over the past week. There was some drivers practicing for this literally the day the calendar got released, because for some teams a top 10 means so much. For others it's like, a top 10, that's nothing to me, but to many it means so much. So that's why we do see some of the more of the lower level drivers here in this championship, the lower level teams, practicing a lot more, because they have to. You see some of the esports teams, RHG, Williams, Racecoach, they've got a lot. They've got a lot of other things they have to do alongside this championship, so they can't put every minute of every hour into these circuits. So that's why we don't always see them performing at the peaks. They're not always getting the high PBs, because they haven't always got the time to practice this track. They've got other tracks, obviously, when the esports was about, they had to practice all those tracks as well. So, some teams won't perform on that basis of how much they've got to do. So that's why teams like S7R, who don't really have much other things to kind of work on, they can focus on this championship heavily and get themselves some really good points. But we can see now, the final runs in Q3 about to begin, and Julian Klaffenbach will kick us off here. He is my guest for pole. We'll see what he can do on his final run. The quickest time currently, a 1 minute 38.798 from Riccardo Benzoni. About 2 minutes left to go before we see everyone cross the line. Let's see what happens.
Yep, Klaffenbach with the fastest first sector and fastest final sector. So he's going to be looking on just matching those and carrying enough of his tyre temp through that second sector just to ensure he can keep up the lap time there and not lose out to the rest of the drivers where they've been nurturing their tyres. But is he going to be able to do it? That's the question.
Well, I'm on board with him now as he heads down towards turn number 3. I've got rid of the big timing on the left-hand side so we can actually see the car properly. We also got the telemetry so we can see what speeds it hits. 323 in towards turn 3. He heads into turn 4. Bit of a tap on the wall though. That's definitely going to lose him sometime as he heads into turn 5. Still losing a bit of time through that first sector. I think, was he up though is a question. Yes, he was up by a 10th. He's purple, but then again, he's gone deep at turn 5 and 6. That's going to cost him time. Now a bit of a straight in towards turn 7. Can he find time? This is where he needs to find time. This middle sector. That's where he was losing it earlier on in the session as he heads through into turn 7 now. Up into the castle. Don't bin it here, Julian. Just make it through as he goes through. And the speed they carry through. How close they are to the wall is absolutely insane. Out of turn 13 now in towards turn number 15. We'll see what he can do in this section. Obviously wanted to brake late. Try not to turn wall. Braking that will send the car straight into the wall. Hopping that curb slightly into turn 15. Beautiful there from the RSG driver. Tiger Hardy's binned it at the castle section. What can you do? He's up by 3/10 on his lap. This could be better. And he goes wide. It's gone wide, but the lap's still valid. Can he improve or will he not? Let's see. No, he's let off complete. So that's Julian's lap time. Julian won't be taking pole. He won't be finding improvements here in this session. We've got Louis Vante coming through. He's up by 6/10. He could be looking to try and take pole here tonight. What can he do? For S7R, Tiger Hardy, not higher than 9th. Can Louis Vante put it on pole for the team as he heads down now up towards line? We'll see what times he hits, what speed he can hit. 320, 325. It'll be 330 kilometers an hour to the line. What will it be for Louis? Goes to the top there with a .498. Brilliant lap time there from him. Then we've got one of the Alpines coming through. That'll be Reese Linton. What can he say? He's invalidated, so no improvement for him. Kian Gondorp heading through as well. He's done an improvement in the middle sector. Can he try and put himself onto pole position up towards line? What will it be for the Williams driver? Goes into P2. Then we've got the SRCs coming through. I think Ricardo's left off. Shinaka goes into second. Can Luke Smith find an improvement as he comes through? Max Grosspoint, can he go to top? No, he goes into P2 there for Grosspointer and Luke Smith into third. Oh, what an ending to qualify on that is Ricardo Benzoni. Yes, he's not going to find improvement. He's 3/10 down in the middle sector. Can he find anything, though, in the final? I don't think he can. No, we've done it down by half a second, sorry. But S7R on pole position. I didn't think I'd be saying that here tonight, Josh.
No, that's certainly a shock. I mean, fair play. I don't feel like you could say anything less. Louis Valentine showing up when it was exactly needed. A brilliant result there for F7R. I mean, Max Grosspointer being .016 off of the pole time just goes to show the level of competition he had for that pole position, but it was absolutely fantastic with Luke Smith as well, .04 behind in P3. And then you've got the SRC driver for Shenanka Clay P4, Kian in P5, Ricardo Benzoni in P6, Julian Kaffenblock, your prediction for pole in P7. Again, not necessarily getting a rub of green on his lap time, but it's certainly interesting. Reese Litton P8 and Tycho Hardy P9 after the castle incident. I feel like Dylan Warren sums it up best in the chat there as well. What an odd grid.
Yeah, it is very odd, isn't it? Obviously, both Ferraris not being through. Dylan, I'm sure you would have made it through for Ferrari, wouldn't you? I'm sure you would have got through to Q3. But I know Dylan's got some issues with his pedals. I know they're broken. Yeah. I don't know if he got new ones yet, but I know they was broken at one point. So that could be why he's not here today. But I'm sure Dylan would have got through. I think Dylan last season was one of those unstoppable drivers, wasn't he? But we can't curse him today, so we can talk good about him because he's not going to crash. Look what we do with Leo Lund.
Yeah.
And then what you do with SRC, you said they're going to get 1-2, Josh. They finished 4th and 7th.
Yeah.
You didn't quite go to plan there for you either, did it? Or Julian Kaffenbach for me, because I said he'd take pole. He went too deep at turn 15. So the commentator's curse.
And then predicting Kian for pole as well. That didn't work out great. I feel like we should just be banned from mentioning drivers as almost a whole.
Yes, indeed. As we're going to go back on towards the intermission screen for now. Obviously, we have to have the restart, which we all love. Yes. We have to wait another 10 minutes for us to get underway.
I do have a quick query for you, though.
Mm-hmm. What?
Do you think that, given they are one of our sponsors here? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. There we go. We're leaking the private Discord information on the stream. I saw that. No one pause it, please. No, of course, there's absolutely nothing there. But having a little think about that, SRC was so close, and I feel like if they just had a little help from a little dude called Bob, I feel like they could have maybe got that one too.
Could they?
Yes, I feel like they needed help with Bob. It's scientifically proven. This little dude improves your lap time by 2 tenths. The source is trust me, bro.
That means you ruined it then, because I
took that 2 tenths.
So you stole their lap time. So that's why they're not on pole because of you.
I'm like the Grinch. I just steal their lap times instead of presents.
So, but the Grinch doesn't like Christmas. Does that mean you don't like SRC?
It means I don't like quick lap times. There's a difference.
Well, Lou Vantin made sure you sort of quit lap time because I put a 0.498. From what I was told, PBs are 0.3s and 0.2s. It was a little bit far off that. It was only just quicker than the world record, which I believe is a 0.5. And I would say, as well as I can moving, please don't ask me about it. It's the most horrible thing Josh has ever bought.
I don't know why the cam's still moving.
Does it on
works
purpose.
brilliant. It's absolutely
horrible.
great. Richie loves it, and you guys do too, clearly.
Indeed. But talking of SRC and talking of Bob, I think Bob has asked us to have a little bit of a word from SRC, hasn't he?
Has he?
Has he?
Oh, he's nodding. He's nodding.
Oh,
he's
okay.
nodding.
Right,
you can't
guys.
see it, but he's nodding.
Bob has told us we need to have a word from SRC, so we'll be back with you very, very shortly. And we are back after a quick word from our sponsor at GT Omega and Sim Racing Centre, which we thank, obviously, for being sponsors here at the PSGL League. And obviously, SRC, I believe it's a 10%. Is it 10%, Josh? It is, isn't it?
I do believe it is. It's a generous discount. I'm not going to lie.
Well, I don't think anyone can mind at a 10% discount. We all go mental about it when it's in a shop. So,
yes.
It's here at SRC. If you're going to buy something, go for it.
Of course, as well, not only the SRC, we also get 5% off at GT Omega using code PSGL.
Obviously, our chair,
it's
your
fantastic.
chair, not Josh, but mine is GT Omega. You don't have one.
Hopefully, if I ask very nicely to Mr. Bossman at GT Omega, I might be able to get one. But I'm praying. Because, to be quite honest, I'm not in a position to be able to afford a chair because I'm saving it all for hair dye. For you, Richie, when we meet up.
I'm not
you're going to
blonde.
dye your hair in front of me. Yes.
No.
Yes, you'll be just like me.
Yeah, but yours seems to be more blonde according to Dylan, so I think the hair dye should be for you.
Dylan's half blind. It's fine. He broke his pedals because he was buying hair dye for himself because he too wants to be blonde. We're just creating a little blonde army here at PSGL.
Yeah, well,
all the viewers dyeing their hair blonde. You will be. It's just natural. It's okay. It'll happen over time.
Well,
but
the calendar.
Things which happen over time here as well. This series, as I'm sure you all know, isn't just one race. No. Thank you, Will Buxton. We've got a fantastic calendar here, and there's a lot that all of these drivers. They've all got something here to display and really show off, given the difference of the calendar. I mean, you think Azerbaijan, tight, twisty, technical street circuit, and then we jump over to the likes of Belgium and Catalonia, where the traditional circuits they are normal, and then we jump back over to red and blue painted stripes on the floor, a slightly different abnormal, but still a racetrack, right? You can't take that away from Paul Ricard.
It's a brilliant track. It's heavily underrated in my opinion.
It really, really is. I mean, I don't feel like F1 does it justice there. I feel like the endurance races are by far better than the F1 cars, but unfortunately we can't convince all these guys to get into my Fiesta and try and do hot laps around the south of France. They're not happy with that idea. And then, of course, we have Austria, and then a break week. Dare I say, we jump after that break week to probably one of the best stints I've ever seen on any calendar ever in sim racing.
Britain, we start off with then Imola, which is hands down my favourite track of all time. I will never like a track more than Imola. I don't know why, I just absolutely love the circuit. Then we go to Qatar, which yet again, another brilliant circuit, very new to the game. I know the drivers don't like it because of I think it's about with the grip being quite low and also it's not very good for strategy. So it's not the best for drivers, but I think in terms of entertainment, it's brilliant. Then Mexico, a track I absolutely despise. First of all, I never liked it in the first place. Second of all, in the past 4 weeks, I've commentated there 3 times, so I'm absolutely sick to death of the
I'll tell
Hermanos
you
Rodriguez circuit.
When we was doing the PSF1, PCF1 earlier, with the vote, I was for the Mystery Grand Prix. I was looking in the chat, and there was some real sick people out there who wanted heavy rain around Mexico or Singapore.
Singapore, that'd be fun. I'd enjoy that. Not Mexico, though.
No,
Well,
Mexico would be a death trap.
Think about it. Yeah, but the thing is, last time we was at Singapore in E-Series was when it went full wet. And I remember that. And I will always remember that race because everyone went onto Inters. Matthias van Erven went onto a set of wet, so we're thinking, why has he done that? He was 15 seconds back off 15th, which at that point was Dylan Warren. I'm sorry, Dylan. And he was 15 seconds back off him. He was in 16th position. Within 3 laps, he went from there to win it. Because the track went sodden wet within 3 laps. He click, and it was wet. They didn't pit, and Matthias just flew past all of the... Yep, thank you, I'll take P1. There we are. It was mental. I'll always remember that. And then we've been at Singapore before as well, back in PCF2 in season 33, where it went dry to wet. And I remember that one because it was a battle between Andrei Trebuchin and Bogdan Moldovan. And that race was also, it started dry, then the safety car came out, and then people pitted onto Inters in the dry thinking, oh God, F1's back at it again. No, it turns out they wanted to pit early for the Inters when the rain comes. So Singapore, for me, has a lot of correlation with the wet weather. Azerbaijan, though, it's on dynamic, but I can't expect it to be wet, so I don't think it will be.
Interesting. I mean, I can see it happening. I could see a little bit of light rain, maybe not necessarily full rain, but at least a little bit of light rain. And then, of course, with the calendar as well, we do have Las Vegas and Interlagos rounding it out. Yeah. It's just a fantastic calendar. Oh no. Oh no. Where's he being called out?
I didn't select a car. I forgot to select my car. Sorry, guys. And then I didn't select. I was meant to be in Leo's car. He's got it back now. Oh.
Hey. Well, I mean, at that point, we might as well get Leo back up in here and get him on the headset and let him say your name a couple of times. See how well it'll go. But hopefully now we will be getting underway and jumping into the lobby, where they'll have a little bit of time to apply their setups and maybe digest a race strategy, which could potentially, obviously, have a little bit of rain. Which
maybe,
I don't know. Throw that out there. It could always happen. I'm not saying it will, but I would enjoy it if it did. I don't know if that makes me a masochist or just a general horrible person for wishing rain on these guys who have, done so much practice in the dry. We've done the race simulations, the quali simulations.
Well,
but just a little bit of water. Just a little bit.
I can't expect it to be wet. If it is, then it's going to be interesting, but I don't think it will be. But we have 8 seconds till we get underway. Josh, who is your race winner today?
Yeah, Dylan Warren.
Oh, well, from what I know, Dylan's not racing. So what, is he now his Fampuka today?
No, not Ishtan. I'll tell you what, I'm going to steal your pick. I'm going to go for Julian Kappenbach.
Okay. Well,
just forcing you to change it at this point.
Well, I'll steal your pick and I'll go with Keane Gondorp for my win. So there we are. Keane for the win for me. Josh shows Julian. Hopefully, we can get started within the next 10 seconds and not have to wait 14 eternities before we can get underway. So then the drivers now choosing their strategies, setups. It's dry, which is a good thing. The drivers haven't got to worry about it being sodden wet on the circuit. So, yes, the start will be very interesting. And Jonas says there's going to be 3 safety cars. Yeah, I said at the start there's definitely one. If there's not a safety car, I am going to be heavily surprised. So we'll see what happens. But it's Louis Valentine on pole for S7R on their debut race here in the E-Series Championship, alongside Matt Grosspointer for Veloce Academy, who took a podium last season back in Japan. Here we're at a completely different track, so it's not quite the same as Japan, but we'll see if he can try and do it the same here tonight. But obviously, lots of points to play for, and we'll see who can take the victory here once we can kind of get underway with the race, which would kind of be the ideal scenario once we can see everyone selecting the cars, and also once everyone loads in, because sometimes this issue is because people's games don't load in time.
Yeah, but it decides to have a little history. It's a beautiful feature that we do love. It's a juicy feature. I mean, on the plus side, you get to hear mine and Nathan's voice ramble for just about a little bit longer, which I'm sure you all woke up this morning thinking, "Wow, I can't wait for E-Series and to hear Josh and Nathan ramble about stuff we don't care about." But there we go.
We can see now 4 and 5 laps before the start of the series season here for season 3 at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Louis on pole, Max in second. A good start from the top two as they head into turn 1 and nobody positions being made. Actually, Luke Smith went for a move. Max hit him into turn 1. That's now put him under compensation from Shanaka Clay to try and take P3 away. Let's have a look at the tyres as well on screen as we come through. And it's soft for Louis. Oh, and there's already spins Julian Klaffenbach round at turn number round, and that is it for him. His reset to track is going to continue on, but luckily we have yellow flags, but there's VSC?
Virtual safety car.
Oh, for me, you just say it's caution. Oh, great. Brilliant.
It's fair. It's fair. It is a virtual safety car.
Well, that was something.
Just to confirm for everyone. But I do love it how my predictions already curse someone. So we're going to mix it up a little bit, and we're going to go with Louis Valentine. Cause a little bit of drama at the front.
Well, he had a 1 second gap and he can't increase it anymore because of the VSC, which came out because of Julian. I'm not sure who he had contact with, but it was definitely contacted to turn 2, which caused that incident and caused him to spin round and end up at the back by 3.5 seconds. So hopefully he can try and catch himself up to the rest of the grid for when we go underway again. But obviously, soft for the 2 F7Rs, soft for Reese Linton, and soft for Nick. Apart from that, everyone else on a set hard tyres. Now, my idea behind these on the softs is that the fact they think there's going to be a safety car, so they can gamble off it. But it's gone back to green flags. We head down to turn 15, and we'll see what Louis can do. His ideal thing would be to try and get a second gap to those guys in second and below. But Josh, look at the gap there between Shanaka, Luke, and Key, and they're all within 2/10 of each other as they head down to turn 15.
Yeah, it's so close between all these drivers. I mean, realistically as well, you've got to think these drivers have all had a history racing one another, whether it's on previous E-Series, PCF1. They know each other very well. They understand exactly where they're going to be trying to get one-ups and where they'll be doing the one-upping. As we see Luke here just trying to tuck into that slipstream. And you'll notice he's got the overspeed there. Without the aid of DRS, obviously, it's too early. Not deploying too much battery, and you can already see he gets past there. So expect when the DRS is open to see maybe a couple drivers potentially going 3 wide down into turn 1. But Louis Valentine, he's already pulled out that second. All he's got to do now is keep Luke Smith at, at arm's length, if you will. Just keep jabbing him, poking him away as best he can. As we see Shanaka Clay moving down to 4th place with Max Grosspointer moving himself up into P3, coming out of turn 3 itself before they end up swinging it into turn 4. And you can already see, they're basically front wing to gearbox all throughout this pack here in this middle. I want to say midfield, but realistically, it's the majority of the grid.
It is. We can see Tiger Hardy, though, he's closed up quickly to the back of Shanaka Clay. Obviously, only 1.5 tenths back as they head in towards turn 7. The F7 was obviously taking that different strategy. So far, making it work, but then again, there's another 24 laps to go. We'll see if that strategy can work out in the long run as they head up the hill now, in towards the castle exit and the castle now, as I fill up another bit more of an up crest in towards turn number 15 at the end of it. As you can see, Tiger Hardy gaining in. Can he make a move on Shanaka Clay into turn 15? Surely he doesn't make it there. He'll go for it. Down towards that first corner, you can see backs off there. Knows he doesn't want to send a move there on the back of the SRC Aston Martin. Down in towards turn number 16 they go. And we'll see when Tycho can go for that move. Obviously, Reetington will be following in close behind. He'll also be looking to make an advantage of those soft tyres and get a position ahead if he can. But Tycho has been looking very strong so far on these softs. You can see Reetington's actually lost time to Tycho. Tycho's gained heavily to the back of Shanaka Clay, goes to the inside line, makes 1 position. Can he try and make an extra one? He's using all his battery down to turn 1. He's using a bit more. He lifts off, gets more battery down. He's going to go to the inside of Matt's cross point. Brakes later. Can he get it to work? No, he sits behind for now, so he's not keen to get through just yet, but we know he's got the pace. Look at that gap, though, to Luke Smith between Luke Smith and Louis Valentine. 2.1 seconds.
Yeah, it's just there, isn't it? And it's just going to keep growing and growing until these drivers decide to work together. But so far, it looks like the only driver looking to work together with the likes of Luca and Max is going to be Tiger Hardy and Reese Linton behind on the soft compound tyre, because they know they're naturally just going to get past during the next couple of laps because they've got such a difference in tyre delta between the 2 compounds. They'll be looking to try and jump these 2 drivers in front quicker than they would necessarily like to, hold them back by. Because as soon as these soft compound runners are free to run, that'll be when the softs end up getting towards the end of its longevity cliff, end up falling off slightly, and it'll end up just holding up the hard compound runners just a little bit, whether it's for, 1 or 2 seconds through that middle complex, the castle section. And it'll just give Louis Valentine a little bit more breathing room. But so far, he's doing exactly what he needs to do. 2.7. He's looking to keep pushing. He's using a little bit of his battery. And he's just managing to keep him at an arm's length. And he's just got to do that. He's got to run his own race. He doesn't need to worry about what's happening behind, how much we're fighting. He's just got to run it.
Indeed.
And that's what he's doing at the minute. And it's brilliant to see.
I don't want to curse, but I think Julian here at this point would like a safety car, wouldn't he? I think on those one-lap LBs, if a safety car came out now, he could take those and probably pass many of those drivers who are looking to make positions in his race, all those hard runners, especially Tycho Hardy, his side-by-side with Gross Pointer into turn 1. So yes, if a safety car came out, that would heavily help the likes of Julian Klaffenbach, who's already pitted. Obviously, we'd need to pit again, definitely, off of those mediums. They're not going to go 24 laps, surely not, here in this race. As you can see now, Tycho looking to close into back of Luke Smith. And then we could see here, potentially, an F7R 1-2 here in this race, which, yes, we know they're on softs, we know they're quicker than us because of that time, but still, it's a 1-2 here in this session. We can see Svan Puki making a move ahead of Timas Lenkovic for P10. And this one, has he gone round or has he just lost multiple positions? It looks like, yes, he just lost a couple of positions. We can see Nicholas Long getting to the inside of the MVR as they're heading towards turn number 3. Isfan going to try and close in as well. Can he try and make a move at the inside of the Haas? No, he can't. So it went from Isfan being ahead of Teeman out to Nicholas being ahead of Teeman. So one of the throwers now in the top 10. The other one just outside, obviously being Isfan Puki in 12th. They need to find positions here in this race, and I think we know for definite they're a team that can definitely do so. Further ahead, obviously, Tycho Hardy's got the move ahead of Luke. So now it's a F7R1-2, an RC3-4. And Josh, every time we look at that castle section, you think who's going to hit that wall because they're so close every single time.
Way too close. I don't like it. It gives me the heebie-jeebies every time I see him go through there because it's not only the fact they're getting so close to the wall, it's the speed they're doing it at as well. You might not be able to pick it up too well on the broadcast, but they're literally sliding their car going up the hill to take the fastest line possible, and it's absolutely terrifying watching it on board. But as you mentioned, F7R currently sitting 1-2, both of them on the same strategy, but they do have that little window in between them. Now, the only thing which I think Tycho might have to be concerned about slightly is the fact that these race clutch drivers are just going to be able to swap positions using their DRS and keep reeling him in. So the harder he pushes to catch back up to Louis Valentine, he's in fact just bringing race clutch with him into this fight where it's going to be a 2v2. And considering Luke's on the hard compound tyre, he'll be looking to run a little bit longer than the rest of these drivers. It might not be a good strategy for F7R to want both drivers up there fighting together against a team with a split strategy.
Indeed, yeah, it could be a confusing one, as we can see Clay Lane looking for a move around the outside of Gross Pointer into turn 3, and Max has gone deep though. Is he hit? He's hit Luke Smith! Yes. Oh dear, Max has gone deep and has hit Luke Smith, spun the race clutch driver around. Has he got damage on his car? Yes, he has. His front right wing end plate is gone off the Veloci Academy McLaren. That is a big shame. So now Luke Smith down to P17. Max has got damage, and it's time for Ricardo Benzoni to make a move into P7 if he can. Max pulls off. He knows he can't defend it. What a shame there it is for Gross Pointer, for Veloci, and also for race clutches. It's Van Puki. Nearly touches the back of Gross Pointer as they head in towards the castle section now. Max has got to pit this time around, but this is not good for Isfan. Look how much time he's losing. 7 tenths. 8 tenths is the gap now to Timas Zelenkovic. As you can see, Isfan gets the inside line on the run of the Veloci Academy driver. Can't make it work now. It's Max's turn to try and hold everyone up for Leo Lund to try and get a bit of time, but I don't think he has. If anything, he's lost time for his teammates here in this session. So a big shame for, obviously, both Race Clutch and Veloci Academy there. And, well, Josh, we're 5 laps in, and we've had a very surprising start to this race.
Dare I say, it's been a classic Baku experience. It's been absolutely manic. We've already had a VSC. We've had a driver getting caught out on the brakes, snatch him in front, and end up running it into the back of Luke Smith's race clutch car. But also, Max Grosspointer there, running it through that final corner, he ended up carrying so much speed, he just didn't have a downforce to get the car swung back to the right-hand side, so he's diving it into the pits to get a new front wing before he ends up tapping the wall a little bit too hard, and Nick also follows him in there in the Haas car as well. But you got to feel sorry for Luke Smith. He was in such a good position. He was the lead hard compound runner. And then after just, with no mistake of his own, running his own race, and him getting tapped in the rear, and he's found himself back in P15, jumping back past Jan Halliday. But it's going to be a tough pill to swallow for Race Clutch after that.
Yeah, it is a big show. Obviously, they've still got Reece Linton in third, but then again, he's on a complete different strategy. If that doesn't work, Race Clutch could be taking very little points home here tonight in this race. Obviously, Luca's got no damages in P14, but you know, it's still not ideal. And I think the issue was Max was trying to defend from Shanaka, and he's defended. He's kind of probably not looked at the braking zone and just gone too deep and has hit Luke round. I saw it. He was going to go deep. And obviously, unfortunately, just about clipped the Alpine as he went through. So a big shame for both of those. Obviously, I can definitely see that go to the steward room. I can definitely see Max probably getting a penalty, maybe a hefty penalty for that incident then. There down at turn number 2, as we can see Ishmael Fassi and Keane Godendorp now running through at the moment. It seems like the three teams who are looking best in terms of points here tonight is F7R, SRC and Williams Esports. Obviously Ferrari, with that mistake there up front, has got themselves down to P8 and P10. So they're looking to get a bit of redemption here after qualifying. We can see Shanaka looking for a move there ahead of Reece Linton. He goes to the outside, tries to make the move ahead. Can he do it now? Into turn 1, no, because now Tycho Hardy's going to be absolutely eaten up by the field if he's not careful here, because you can look how quick they're gaining in, and the soft runners already into the pit lane.
Into the pits. Yep, don't blame them. Baynubo is just going to end up losing time after time to these hard compound runners because of the way the DRS works, because, you know, the soft compounds get very aggressively rubbed up around here. It'll be easier for them to dive it onto the mediums, just pace themselves, and ensure they end up covering off some of the drivers who pit on that last lap as well. Just creating a little barrier so they can work together. They can bounce off on each other using the DRS while leaving Louis out there on the soft tyres still, because he's got that gap and the hard tyres won't be able to blast past him using the DRS. But I feel like we should probably make a mention of a certain Ishmael Fassi. How is he P4 behind Kian?
Because he's done a brilliant job.
He's just done what he does best, doesn't he? He just finds a way to get himself up in these positions, and he's looking now to work with Kian to potentially get a move done on Shanaka Clay in the coming laps when the pit stop window opens for these hard compound runners. I mean, it's fantastic Ishmael's been able to do that, but I would just love to see it on board of his, you know, first 5-6 laps here to find out where he's exactly picked up these positions, because he sort of just goes unnoticed and then ends up wandering into these positions, and you think, how's he done that? Surely that's, you know, that's not correct. And then he'll keep going forwards. And then he'll just keep going, and he'll keep chipping away until he's right at the very front.
Safety car!
As we have a safety car because of an incident in the castle section. I believe that's Nick who's found himself in there.
Now, has this got it for Louis? All the hard runners, what do they do? What does Louis do here, though, is the question. Does he pit?
Surely.
He does.
Yeah.
Do the others follow him in? Yeah, they have to, but this is not ideal for the hard runners here in this race. Obviously, having to pit very early, the right to go long, obviously being on the hard tyres. But obviously, Nick Bonventer having a crash at the castle section. Max just about avoiding him at the last second. So, yeah, this is going to be very interesting, Josh, now.
Yeah, Ishmael as well, also backing the field up just a little bit so he's not held up by his teammate by just as much. I feel like the stewards might be having a little cheeky look at that one. He still did get delayed, but it's going to be less of a delay than he would have had if he didn't wait.
So now we can see Tucker Hardy, coming in P4, F7R back yet again in a very good position.
But you do have to think, how much did he go through those tyres?
Soft?
On that first in lap. Right, okay. Ishmael, surely that's a misinput.
Well, I think, thing is, it's the fact of can they go that length on the tyres? The tyre dig around here is horrible. It is absolutely horrible. So, is the plan here for Ishmael soft medium? He's got to go soft medium, surely. So, is the plan for the others medium?
Or dare I even say, he knows what Baku's like. They've run the numbers, they've done the calculations, and they're going to be considering another safety car within the next 7-8 laps.
Yeah, that is most likely it, I think, isn't it? We know that we've had one in 8 laps. We've had a VSC lap 1, a safety car lap 8. The chance of not having another one before lap 26 is quite unlikely. The restart could also be quite interesting because people will be battling, especially when you've got a couple of people on those just a little bit more used mediums, and obviously you've got Ishmael on the soft. So yeah, I think it could be rather interesting going through. Obviously, Julian Klavenbach is onto a set of hard tyres, so he pitted as well. For a different strategy to the other, so we'll see if his strategy can work now. Obviously, going to be quite far back from the grid on the slower tyre at the start, but obviously near the end he can get, you know, he'll be a little bit quicker on pace. So we'll see if that can work out for him here tonight. But yeah, strategy kind of threw up in the air a little bit more than you would have liked. Obviously, the drivers on the hards would have not liked to have pitted on lap 6. They would like to have gone a lot longer. So yeah, we'll see what this race can bring. But Ismail Fassi go for a big gamble here in this race. Obviously started P11, moved up to P4, now down to P7 on a tyre that will definitely not go to the end. He'll have to pick probably by lap 15, I'd say.
Yeah, I reckon lap 15, maybe 17 at a push, but you can always guarantee he's gone on those tyres to try and get some overtakes done. But, you know, we got to talk about it. Safety cars. It's just ruined all the driver strategies, right? There's always a conversation the drivers try and pitch, and it's, we don't like safety cars, they ruin the strategy, it just turns into a game of luck.
But isn't that sport?
Yeah. I mean, it is absolutely sport, but you do have to feel bad for some of these drivers as Laminen goes back into the pits, presumably to try and get a fresher set of tyres than those around him, even if it is by 1 or 2 laps.
Hards for Laminen
Could still be beneficial.
So he's going to try and, I presume, would take those to the end.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him. I feel like that could be a shout. I mean, he's got Julian up in front of him. I mean, as long as he stays within the DRS, surely he'll be fine. Surely. Yeah,
in the chat, Jake says, why is Louis leading? Because he started on pole, and he started on the soft, everyone else started on the hards, pretty much behind him. So he got a 3-second gap within 4 laps.
Yeah.
Pretty much wisely, and he's done a brilliant job so far. So, yeah, I think he can definitely win it tonight, I think. The pace has been looking quite good, but now he's matched on tyres. Do we see a bit of a differentiation in pace now?
I'm not sure whether we see it due to the tyres. I feel like we'll see it due to having, you know, he doesn't have the get-out-of-jail-free card that he had at the start of the race with the soft compound tyres. I wouldn't necessarily say it'll be solely down to the tyres, but it was certainly a helping factor for him to be able to pace himself to get away. I feel like it's going to be tough for him to get away from, you know, Shananka and Kian at the same rate he did before, and if he doesn't do it quick enough, DRS gets involved, the other drivers start deploying a battery. It's going to get very messy.
Yeah, oh, it will.
But I can still see him pulling out a window, but I'm not sure whether it'll just be enough to break the DRS.
I can't see him pulling out a window to break DRS at all. I can't see that happening. I think he can definitely keep himself comfortably in first for now, but I can't see him breaking a second on the field. But the safety car will be in this lap, as we can see Lewis shortly. He'll obviously be backing up now. The safety car going to fly off into the distance to enter into the pit lane, so we'll see what Lewis' strategy. Does he go early? Does he go late under this restart? It's all down to him, as Leo Lund's had a disconnection, which is not going to blame, especially when it's on the restart. Oh no, we've got any DC, because Jan's Holiday's also gone as well. Let's hope no one else has any issues. So we've lost Jan and Leo at this time. We can see when Louis decides to go. I'm going to go on board with Shanaka Clay, Josh, as we can see when Louis decides to head off into the distance.
I'll be able to tell you. I'm watching him carefully, looking at his brake inputs. He's gone. Battery's deployed. Louis doing everything in his power just to get that little gap open, but it's not going to be enough, is it? You can still see the rest of those drivers collapsing in on him going down into turn 1. The drivers seem to be getting through it in all right fashion. Reese Linder went to the inside row with a bit of an audacious move, but Louis Valentine still keeps that 2 tenths difference, and he's just going to be looking to get his head down and keep pushing, because Shananka Clay is going to be right on the back of him, putting the pressure on where it's needed. We see Jan Halliday and Leo fall back through the pack. Hopefully we'll be able to get them back in the session as soon as possible. But my words, it's close still up here, isn't it? And I don't feel like they're going to get split up at all through Sector 2.
Indeed, yeah, and it is a big shame for Leo and Jan, obviously, to be at the session. We can see Ishmael Fassi up the inside, Nicholas Longe in towards turn number 5. Brilliant move from him there as they head down in towards turn 7. Brilliant from him to get himself up on those soft tyres. They're going to be looking to try and get past Reese Linton, who's on a bit more of a used set of mediums. Obviously, he pitted just before the safety car came out, so that's why his tyres are 3 laps old, and pretty much everyone else's are 2 laps old as he heads through up the hill at turn 13, down towards turns 14 and 15. We'll see if Ishmael can make a move here. Surely not. He's going to go for it, though, isn't he? He's going to go to the inside line. Inside line at turn 15. Can he make the move? Reese backsays like, yeah, no, thank you. I'm not going side by side into that corner. So now Ishmael going to be looking to try and get himself ahead of Tycho Hardy, who obviously also had a very good strategy at the start of this race. Also started on the soft tyres. He also pitted just before that safety car came out, hence one out. He's in the top 4, so he'll head through in towards the fast final few corners of this circuit, down towards turn 1. Brilliant camera angle there. The cars all flying through. And they have the long straight. Obviously, this section, 2,000 metres of flat out, foot to the floor. As I head into turn one, now we've got Reece Linton looking to gain in and make a move on Ismail Fassi. He's got some brilliant straight line speeding towards turn one. Can he get the move done? No, he backs out Don Roche. Looking to get ahead of Iswan Pukis onto the inside, though. Gets himself just ahead of Tony as he exits out of turn one now in towards turn number 2.
Yeah, they're battling down there for P10, aren't they? But I do just want to keep an eye out for the rest of this battle happening up at the front. Shenanigans Clay got right up behind Louis Valentine, but didn't decide to make the overtake going down into turn one. Just choosing to wait his time and kind of play this little chicken game we quite often see with DRS trains, where you don't want to be the lead car because worst case scenario, you end up getting swallowed up by the rest of the pack. As we see Tony Roche go to the inside there of Istvan Pukki. Istvan Pukki held it around the outside beautifully, but it's going to turn it back into the inside. And Tony Roche is still going to be on the inside. They've got some wheel banging to do there, as I believe Istvan might have been just put into the wall there by Tony Roche, but he's been able to keep it going, continue on. Luke Smith jumping past both of them up to P10. But I'll tell you what, that was a bit of rubbing his racing going on through the field there. My word. His front wing's intact. Okay, it's all looking okay from Istvan's side. Oh, Nathan? Oh dear. Oh dear, might have a bit of an incident. I'm trying to get Leo back into the lobby for us while we're still going, but unfortunately it doesn't seem like I'm able to invite him back in. Right, give me a second. Right. There you go. He should be back in. I'm not sure what's going on. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not sure why I can't hear Richie. I'm not sure why Richie can't hear me. This isn't a good idea. This isn't a good start. But we still have battles going all on throughout the grid as Louis Valentine gets put under pressure once again by Shenanigans Clay. No surprise there, but Ismail Fassi setting another fast slap, and this time getting past Tycho Hardy for P4. It's looking brilliant for his method here to try and pick his way back up through the field. There we go. Right. Just still checking. Still can't hear Richie. This isn't a good start, is it? But I'll tell you someone who's not going to be too. There we go. Hello.
Did something happen?
What do you mean did something happen? Ismail Fassi's been working his way back up through the field, and Shenanigans Clay's been putting so much pressure on Louis Valentine.
I think Discord died because I was speaking the whole time.
Oh dear. Get the gerbils to run quicker on the wheel.
Oh dear me. Brilliant.
That's what I normally do. But I'll tell you something, Leo Lund, I've invited him back into the lobby, so hopefully he's going to be able to jump back in and hopefully be able to get that car back into a good position. Might need a safety car, but it's Baku. It wouldn't surprise me if we end up seeing another one.
Well, we're 12 laps in. We're not even halfway yet. We've had a VSC and a safety car, so I think it's more than possible. And it's kind of what Ismail Fassi is probably hoping for here in this race at this current time. We can see him trying to gain into the back of Key and going up his teammate, but he's not really gaining enough to even think about making a move. He's going to be thinking more about trying to defend from Tycho Hardy, who's dumping all the battery down to turn one. Can he try and make a move as Shanaka Clay takes the lead of the race in towards turn number 1? Golden Dalt goes to the inside of Louis Valentine. Can he take Peter away from F7 up? They go side by side out of the first corner. I'm on board with Tycho, watching this all unfold ahead as I head in towards turn number 2 now. And I think Kin's got it done. Yes, Kin's got the move ahead of Louis Valentine now. Ismail Fassi, can he try and make a move ahead of the S7R driver? I don't think he can down to turn 3. He's not got quite the run on the back of the Alpha Terry, but he's going to pull it slipstream there, as you can see, in towards the braking zone. But Williams now, Josh is looking really, really strong here in this race. But it's all down to Ismail Fassi's strategy and to see if it can work.
Yeah, I mean, they don't half like leaving it up to chance, do they? The Williams eSport boys. They love a little gamble. I mean, it's worked for them in the past, but is it going to work here? That's going to be the key point that I just want to pick up on, because realistically, Ishmael's going to have to be looking for a safety car in order to try and get his strategy to work. He's already 5 laps on those soft tyres. Probably looking to maybe get 2 or 3 more laps out of them before he dives it back into the pits to try and set, you know, some mediums or some hards. I'm presumably going to be mediums at that point, but you know, it's a tough one, and then he's going to end up jumping all the way back down the field. And because the safety car's punished them all back up, he could very well be looking at being P19, trying to find his way back through the field, albeit on a fresh set of tyres. But it'll still be a hell of a challenge for the Williams driver to, necessarily try and get past what we're looking at, 5-6 drivers before he can even start thinking about getting into points at P14, and then looking to try and get good points. You're looking at another 3, 4, 5 positions up from there.
It's going to be hard for him, isn't it? Indeed, we can
it's
see.
It's a long one.
Longo looking to gain in there on the back of Reese Linton. Reese looking to gain in the back of Tycho Hardy. Goes to the outside line. Couldn't quite get the run, though, into turn 1 on the back of the S7R. But also, Luke Smith has made a great recovery. Now into the top 10 in P10 there, just behind Riccardo Benzoni as they're heading towards turn 3. He's made a really good recovery, obviously dropping down to P16 after contact with Matt Grosborn, who's also got himself a good recovery. Now he's into P14 as they all head down now in towards turn 3. So very good so far from those two to work their way back up after that misfortune on the opening few laps here of this Grand Prix. We can see Reese Linton are looking to gain in on the back of Tycho Hardy again, and if he's not careful, Nicholas Longo will be knocking at the door because he's also right on the back of the Alpine. He goes for a bit of a dummy send there on the back of Reese Linton as they all head through towards this next section. Can't find a move through there just yet. We'll be looking to close in soon. Tyvar, though, he's very close to being outside that 1 second gap to his Van Pookie. He needs to get himself comfortable within it if he wants some DRS. If he loses DRS, he's probably going to be done for in terms of strategy for the rest of this race, because you lose so much time down that long straight towards someone because you haven't got DRS.
It's almost crippling at some points, isn't it, when you get stuck outside of a train around some circuits on this calendar, but I don't feel like it can get much worse than Baku, because you're just going to be watching the car in front slowly just keep pulling away. And that's something that, Valentin, Tyus Korsman and Leo Lund, they're all going to be just staring at that car getting smaller and smaller going down the straight, because it does have a DRS. It can deploy a little bit of battery just to ensure that it ends up pulling away from you, and it can be such a soul-crushing thing just watching the car, which, you could very easily be racing with, being able to get away because they've had a slightly tidier sector and being able to stay within the DRS. But Ismail Fassi here as well looks like he's going to be a bit of a cork in the bottle for Tycho Hardy and Reese Linton's battle there, just helping Kian get a little bit more of a delta time to the rest of these drivers that he will be battling when it comes to the next pit stop window.
Indeed, which you can see Luke Smith and Tony O'Shea have been into the pits now to get themselves onto a new set of medium tyres. So it seems that medium strategy was the viable one, at least for those two. As we can see, Tycho Hardy are looking to get back ahead of Reese Linton. Couldn't find the move back ahead, though. So it's still in the top 6, but it's still not in the position he would like to be. And as we can see, Longo looking to gain in as well on the back of the S7R. We'll see if he can try and look for an opportunity soon in this race. Obviously, Zelenkiewicz following in close behind, along with Riccardo Benzoni in the top 9. SRC still looking strong. First for Shanaka Clay, 9th for Riccardo. At the moment, only 4 teams have all their drivers in the top 10, obviously being Ferrari, F7R, Williams and SRC. And obviously MVR as well being happy with teammate being in that top 8. Obviously the teammate Nick had a crash in at the castle section on the opening few laps, obviously causing that safety car and causing them to at least lose an extra points here in this race as they head through now in towards turn 15. We can see Longo, yes, again gaining in, but the issue is, Josh, they could just never find a move unless they burn lots of battery, which is the last thing they want to do here in this race.
Yeah, then at that point as well, you're also carrying the risk that the driver in front can match the battery deployment and burn through their battery as well, and then you're both going to end up getting, shoved into a funnel going it forward, looking to try and get an overtake on the car in front of the two original battlers, and they're just being held up and just fighting one another, as we see Timo Zelenkovic there making it 3 wide as Nicholas Longo dives it into the pits, but Zelenkovic there taking absolutely no prisoners, blasting past Tycho Hardy and taking P5 down into turn 1. Brilliant stuff from him.
Indeed, we can see Ishmael obviously onto a set of, I presume, medium tyres here now to take them to the end. We can see Nicholas Longo onto a set of mediums as well in this race. Klaffenbach now up into 13th. We'll see if this strategy can work for him. I presume he will be looking to go to the end on those hard tyres, along with Thomas Laminen, who's now in the top 10 for TF10. So we'll see what they can do on those hard. It's going to be a struggle, but I think if anything, it's it's still viable. It's just going to be really hard to keep anyone behind, I think, at this point. But then again, obviously Julian Days until lap 1 was lagging hard from what I heard, hence why he drops down so far. Ishmael Fassi arguing with Luke Smith in towards turn 4. As you can see, Luke now back ahead of Ishmael Fassi. Obviously Eastman's got to get his tyres nice and warmed up to go back on the charge. You can see him actually just looking to just get ahead of Luke Smith again, but just couldn't find the run towards turn number 5.
Yeah, just having a little prod there, a little look, just seeing if Luke was going to be feeling extra generous today and give up a position for free. But You have to wake up very early to try and catch Luke Smith napping to give away a free position there to a driver who's going to be looking to compete with them throughout the entire championship. Obviously, Williams and Race Clutch, they were having some fantastic battles last year, all the way through the championship. And I'm expecting a very similar thing this season as well, where they're going to be scrapping it out through every race, any position on the track, because all the points matter. And I feel like Luke Smith and Ishmael Fassi are two prime examples of every point matters. And these drivers are going to be looking to try and sieve their way back through the field at a rate of knots to try and climb and really put a little bit of pressure on the likes of Julian and Thomas Laminen, who are going to the end. Who, dare I say, if they were in a little bit of a DRS train, they could be away at this moment in time, loving life. But it's not quite there yet, is it?
No, it's not quite, but it could definitely be there. As you can see, that will put, I think, the likes of Leo Lund up into pit. Yeah, he'll jump up to P number. Obviously, he hasn't pitted yet. Obviously, he had that disconnection, which cost him like 5 seconds in the race. We can see Longo now go up into, I'm not going to say the net lead, because some of these will definitely take the end, but he's up into the top 5 at least, sorry, because Luke Smith is in that provisional net lead of the race in P7. Currently, Ishmael Fassi behind. Obviously, then Leo Lund following in suit with him, but he will also drop off due to those tyres being a lot older than those ahead and those behind. As we can see, Jan Halliday also made pits. Oh, someone's got damage. I just saw a bit of front wing flying. Who was that off is a question. Was it off? I think it was off Tyvard. Yes, Tyvard's got no front wing. He's hit the wall and completely lost his front wing. So now, RHG's day has gone from bad to worse.
Oh, it's a tough one, isn't it? RHG, they've not deserved any of this misfortune, and it's so unfortunate. I don't feel like unfortunate is probably the correct term, but look at how slow he's crawled up through that castle section there. He's doing a brilliant job for his teammate, holding up Luke Smith and Ishmael Fassi, but I'm sure, this isn't the way he would have wanted it to go. He would have wanted just to be able to continue. As he ends up running it into the wall, he tried to carry too much speed through that left-hander, and the car just refused to turn in. But that's a virtual safety car. And then that opens the door to Shenanka Clay and Louis Valentine to be able to dive in the pits for a slightly cheaper pit stop.
Indeed, I don't think it will be a safety car, because normally that would have came out by now. So
yeah,
VSC there after that crash there for Valentine, a bit of a, well, I don't know why he tried to go flat out there, that's for sure. We know front wing, but he's learned his lesson. That is definitely not the right thing to do. Matt Scross put to the pits. We'll see. Does Thomas Laminen come in? No, he stays out. Julian Klaffenbach stays out, so they've got a bit of help now with that VSC. Doris has been enabled. The VSC's gone in. Now let's see where the others come out here, because obviously it'll be Laminen in the lead, followed by Julian Klaffenbach as they head into turn 1. Ishmael Fassi arguing with Luke Smith. Further back we can see Nicholas Longue arguing with Leo Lund as well into turn 1. And actually, Gross Point has gone for a bit of a different strategy. He's gone for a set of softs.
Oh, is that the right strategy though?
Yes, in my opinion. I think it'll work. Because remember, what did Isma do? He went 8 laps.
True.
So we'll see what happens there. We can see Valentine getting in on the back of Ishmael Fassi. Leo Lund is now in such a terrible situation because of his tyres. So I thought he would have come into the pits, but no, he chose to stay out there on those. So he'll be ended up holding everyone up at this point. Maybe to try and help his team out, I'm not quite sure. Or at least to try and get his team out through, then hold people like Gisvan and Tycho up as well. As further ahead, though, we'll see. What is going to happen to Thomas and Julian here? This is just not going to work. No,
they're just going to get swallowed up by the rest of the pack, surely. And I'll tell you something as well, which probably hasn't worked in his favour, is Louis Valentine diving it into the pits. He was right there with Shenanka Clay throughout their entire time, running the lead of a race. And then during this pit stop, somehow Luke Smith and Ishmael Fassi have both managed to find their way to dance in between this duo which have been scrapping it out for the race victory almost this entire race, as Shenanka Clay just pulls over to the left-hand side there. I'm not sure if you caught that on stream, just letting Klaffenbach know it's time to get a move on. It's time to shift out of the way. The fresh tyres are coming through, and he's going to be using that to his advantage, going all the way down the straight just to make sure that they weren't able to get the cleanest run possible. But Klaffenbach is certainly not letting that one slide as easily as Shenanka would have liked it. He's still holding his own. He's deployed a little bit of DRS. He's got the ERS deployed as well. He's looking to try and just hold on with everything he's got. But, I mean, surely you knew that was going to end up in a little bit of a mess as Luke Smith and Ishmael Fassi both get the jump on Shenanka Clay as Klaffenbach falls down to P6. But Thomas Laminen, 2.2 out in the lead now. 7 laps to go. He's going to get wrangled in at a rate of knots, but how is his defensive mindset going to be against the likes of these drivers behind him?
if he wants to do anything, he's got to defend hard, hasn't he? I think at this point, you can see God's points are now into P11. He's also looking to work his way through the field quite nicely. He could also be looking to try and change that podium position, but the issue he's got is that incident he had with Luke Smith could, I think, in my opinion, will easily end up in a penalty if it gets reported, which I'm sure it will do. So this could still be a bit of a shame for Veloce Academy's obviously Leo Lund having that issue pitted now. He's 12 seconds back from 16th position, obviously being TS Corsman. Obviously Jan Hade also a little bit far back, so I'm not sure if he also got a bit of a disconnect again, as he was with the train earlier on, but he's now completely lost back out of it again. We can see Klaffenbach there just heading out of turn 12 and 13 with Keane Gordon up close behind. He goes to the inside line to take that position away from the Alfa Romeo as they head down now in towards turn number 15. And we'll soon see easy to clear Julian by the time they end up towards the next part of the corner. You can see what, 4 tenths, 5 tenths already before they hit the braking zone. Now it's going to be Timo Zelenkovic's turn to try and make a move, but now look at that gap. Laminen 7 tenths now to Luke Smith, which has came down by what, a second in the past sector.
What 1.2 over the course of his lap at least, if not more than that. As I want to see Laminen take a win. I want to see TF10 do brilliantly. I also want to see Louis Valentine try and hang it around the outside of Ishmael Fassi. Ubu wasn't quite on, but he's certainly not saying no to that. A little wiggle to the inside. Forces the defensive line from Fassi. And now Louis Valentine's going to be able to straighten up this AlphaTauri quicker than Ishmael can do in the Williams. He's going to be using the ARS. And surprisingly, not using any of his battery. Just waiting behind, watching it all unfold up ahead as Luke Smith takes the outside route on Thomas Laminen. End up having a little rub in his race and a little wheel bang, so to say. So that you might see in a NASCAR street, not necessarily around the streets of Baku, but Ishmael Fassi finds his way around the outside there. Beautiful stuff. Just catches him on the brake. Following Luke through, making sure Luke's not going to be alone in first place. He's got to keep him company, and what a great friend.
Oh, as you can see it there, Laminen moving over there to defend from Louis Valentine in towards turn number 7. That's going to cost him some time. Look at that gap already, 7 tenths to the top 2 here. Now, as you can see, them all being forced through the castle section, and Laminen has lost Louis Valentine, the DRS. This is not good at all for Louis Valentine whatsoever, and Shannon Clay and Nicholas Longay and Keane Godendorp as they all fly through. Surely there's going to be a bit of contact here as they all head in towards turn 15 at the braking zone. Who makes moves? Who stays back? Oh, bit of a tap from Valentine now to the back of Laminen into the braking zone. That could have easily ended him up in the wall, but luckily it does make it through safe and sound.
1.6.
And we'll
1.6 seconds, 1.7, 1.8, and it's going to keep growing and growing until they can get onto the completely flat part of the straight where they don't have to turn. It's going to be 2.2. 2.2 seconds, Thomas Laminen. I know we all quite often say about a Mexican Minister of Defense in a Red Bull, but that was a TF10 determined defense to try and get Tony Roche a little bit of track position. Just let him catch up slightly to the rest of these drivers, as Laminen still looks like he's trying to hold on with everything he's got, but he's got Mass Cross pointed behind on the soft compound tyre. And now the likes of Shananka Clay, Louis Valentine, Nicholas Longay, Kian Gorendorp, and Timo Zelenkovic have all been let loose. And they're going to be looking to do everything in their power on their fresher tyres to catch up to Ishmael Fassi and Luke Smith to battle for this race lead.
Indeed, as Laminen there close to the wall in towards turn 4, that could have ended badly for him as they head through now to the end of this first set to lap 21 and 26 here in this race. It's still Luke Smith who leads ahead of Ishmael Fassi. Obviously, Red Squadron ahead of Williams, ahead of SRC, ahead of F7R here in the opening round of the Series Championship. And you can see Shanaka, what's he done now? Has he hit the wall or something?
Sector 1.
Oh.
Purple Sector 1.
I thought he was going to say he's hit the wall.
No. He was 7 tenths quicker than Ishmael Fassi in Sector 1. He's not having it. He wants to go for this.
He does indeed, and looks like a little bit slow there. Oh, Laminen was the reason why Pookie went slow. Laminen was holding this Van Pookie up into the castle section, and now Benzoni looking to make a move, and he's dropped down so far. P13 at the moment for Riccardo Benzoni. That's not what he would like to be. That's not the position he would like to be in at this point in the race. You can see further up, Godendorp looking to close in on the back of Nicholas Longay, who's also losing time to the back of Louis Valentine. So this isn't good at all for Longay, who, to be fair, Josh, hasn't looked that quick here tonight, to be fair.
No, he's had moments where he's looked, phenomenal throughout, parts of the qualifying, certain aspects of his track as well. He's been able to dance that Ferrari around in ways you wouldn't be able to necessarily explain, but he's certainly holding on his own. And I feel like what you've got to remember is as well, he's not necessarily had the rub of the green with the safety cars, and he's still sitting P5. He's by far not had, a bad performance, but the quality Nicolas Longuet brings to the table, he holds himself in such, you know, a high regard, same as most of us do in this community. He's absolutely a fantastic driver. Maybe he's going to, you know, have a little bit of regret. He might just think he could have done a little bit more, but so far it's been a great drive from him. And he'll be frustrated he's not in it for, you know, exactly this race lead, battling 1-2, but you've got 4 cars separated by 8 tenths, maybe 9 tenths of a second, and he's the 5th car in that trade. If anything happens with these, like, you know he's going to be able to pick up any sort of slacks, and any opportunity he's going to be able to find.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh no! Is that Max?
Oh, he sent it into the castle. Oh, they went side by side. I think Tim had backed it at the very last second. I thought that was going to end in contact. That was not looking like it was going to be fun at all, but they made it through. And Josh, I saw that happening. You see the moment coming close, and you think, no, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. But luckily, they made it through.
Yeah, I saw him pull out, and I was thinking, please, no, come on, please, single file again. Thankfully, they sorted it out amongst themselves, and they're now still single file, heading down onto this straight with DRS soon to be popped wide open. Surely, if you're Ishmael Fast, you know Shananka Clay's right up your gearbox. You've got to make a move on Luke Smith. You can't keep working together like this. You've got to sacrifice Luke to the walls behind at this point. As he ends up pulling to the inside, he doesn't necessarily go for the overtake. He's still working together with Luke Smith, still defending us too. But for how long is that going to be able to work before one of them decides to back out? As we've got a VSC.
Is that Gross Pointer? No, who was it who had? Can't see who it was there. Someone's made an instant summon. I'm not quite sure who it was.
Check the front wings. It is Gross Pointer. He's lost his front right. Yeah, front right.
So virtual
he's lost his entire front wing.
Oh, he's done it. Max, what is Max been up to today?
Dear me. Turn 1 is made friends with the wall.
Oh.
I mean, it was looking so good after the qualifying session, wasn't it, for Veloce? But
it was. Oh, and Julian gets a drive-through.
Oh,
for speeding in.
no.
Oh, what a well, RHG are definitely not going to be happy with this. I think at this point, yeah, Julian will be finishing last in this race, probably. And Vantine's out, so yeah. RHG going to be coming out of this race with what? It's going to be 18th position. That will be 3 points heading out of round 1. We can see Pookie up the inside. Oh, they're going 3-1 in towards the castle. Oh, no. Oh, what have we seen here? Pookie gets ahead, and Ricardo ahead of Max as they head through now in towards this next section at turn 13. Back ahead, we can see Golden Door closing in on Longuet, who's losing more time. Shanaka Clay looking to gain in now on the back of Ishmael Fassi. Vantage dropped back a bit. He was looking for a move last lap, but now he's a little bit further back. The gap 4 tenths as they head in towards turn number 15, turn number 16. So we'll see. Can we get a move down towards turn 1 this one from Shanaka Clay? We can see Ishmael's looking to try and close in on the back of Luke Smith, but look at the speed that Shanaka's carrying through. He's faster than both of them by a clear mile. As we can see them heading down, and we can see it'll be Ishmael to the inside. Shanaka will go to the outside of Smith. And who will make the move into turn 1? I think it'll be Shanaka ahead, but will Ishmael get the run to keep the move ahead? Into turn 1 they go, and Shanaka keeps it for now. P1 for SRC as they head down to the first corner, but now Shanaka loses that DRS.
Yes, and Ishmael has been storing his battery for what feels like an eternity at this point. He's got about 90% worth of his battery. He's going to be looking to deploy this when the time is right. He's going to be picking his opportune moment. This gives Luke Smith an opportunity to recharge his battery from being in the lead and deploying it just a little bit to stay ahead. Gives him an opportunity to, recharge a battery, get back into the swing of things, to try and make this last lap push all the more important, because realistically we could potentially see drivers swapping positions heading up towards the line. I mean, it's going to be interesting. It really, really will be.
And any of them can win it, I think, at this point. Even though there's difference in tyres, I think any of that top 7, I think it's a little bit broad. I think anyone in that top 7 can be in the chance for a win here. I think realistically, though, it's going to be the top 4. But I think anyone that all the way down that DRS train can definitely take it. You can see Valentine, though, carrying way much more speed than Luke Smith. Luke Smith is kind of holding up Valentine here. This is not good for Valentine. He wants to win. He wants to take, he's top pole. He wants to get the victory as well. But at this point, with Luke being a lot slower on those tyres, there's no way that Luke's going to find a way past unless he dumps his battery to turn 1. Battery-wise, you can see Shanaka's on over 80%. Ishmael's pretty much got full battery. Luke's got 60%. Valentino also on that 60%, so he's going to have to burn his battery and to get back ahead of the race clutch driver. Down to turn 1. Could still be a podium though here for F7R. He's gaining in. He's got a 1.3 tenth gap. He's going to pull to the inside now using all that battery he can down to turn 1. He's had to let off. He's using too much in towards the first corner. And I think still he's not going to find a move ahead unless he breaks later.
No, it's going to be a very late move to try and go to the inside there, but it's not quite on. He's just going to have to sit back and wait behind Luke Smith once again. And realistically, you got to start thinking, does Louis have to start thinking about this more strategically? Try and catch Luke off guard in you know, a bit more of an awkward part of the track, but he looks like he's going to be absolutely trying to get it done on one of these straights, no matter how you know, strong Luke Smith seems to be going down the straights. He's carried so much more top speed, but I believe Louis Valentine has just been able to try and dance his way past Luke Smith, but it's still there. They're still side by side. Valentine's had to just drop in behind Luke Smith there once again before they end up reaching this middle sector, this horrible clunky part of the curbs. And Luke Smith retains his P3, but he doesn't have the DRS from Fasci in front of him.
Indeed, and we can see now Longuet looking to try and gain in as well. He was very close, but just couldn't find a move through. Couldn't get an opportunity to get ahead of Louis or Luke, but the battle, I think, is between the top two. They're heading down towards turn 15 for the penultimate time. Shanaka Clay, obviously, with the better tyres, but will lose that DRS. Obviously, Ishmael will have it down to turn 1. And battery-wise, Ishmael's got a little bit more. So I think even though Shanaka's on the better tyres, I think Isma could still take this victory here tonight in ECs. But you look at the gap from there, you look at Ishmael's coming, you can just see them all following behind. P3 all the way down to P11 in one big train. But Josh back down to turn 1. Ishmael's got a 7/10 gap. Let's see if he can take the lead on the final lap of the race.
Keep an eye out for it. You can see his little, well, it's not on the steering wheel in the Williams car, is it? The little LED screen they've got attached to the chassis. When the overtake button turns green, he's deploying it, and he was deploying it all the way, going down that straight until they end up reaching 8th gear, as Louis Valentine also makes a move on Luke Smith slightly further behind in the background. And Nicolas Longuet seems to be put under a little bit of pressure here from Kian Gordon drop. While all this is happening up towards the front, it's 5 temps. Shanaka Clay is doing a beautiful job of battery management and just watching where Fassi deploys the battery and trying to match it, you know, percentage for percentage. Brilliant job so far, but you're going to have to think that going down out that final corner, the last braking zone of this track, Ishmael is going to deploy everything he's got to try and get back up to right behind Shanaka Clay to try and pull out for a last-minute overtake. But Kian, dare I say it, you know, in this middle sector, he seems to be all over the back of Nicolas Longuet.
Yeah, he does. He's got a lot of pace in that middle sector. You can see though Shanaka's gone deep, though. He's a bit of a tap to the wall, I think, there from the SRC drivers. They head into the castle. Last time, look, they both make it through without getting any damage, and we'll see now. Can Ishmael Fassi take victory, the final lap of this race? Here we are, 4 tenths as they head down into turn 15. You can see he's burning the battery. Battery-wise, Shanaka's got a little bit more, not much more, but he's got a bit more battery to use as they head down to turn 15. Then down to turn 16, it'll be a drag line to the finish. Will it be SRC? Will it be Williams who takes the victory here in the opening round of the Series Championship here at Azerbaijan? And Shanaka's lifted off. He wants that DRS, doesn't he? He wants a bit of DRS chicken. Let's see what he's going to try and do here, as he's got this to work, because they're playing the DRS game. This is going to be close to the finish. Can Valentine get it here? Because he's gaining in as they go down towards the line. What's going to happen here? Because Lou's getting in. I don't think he's close enough. Who will take victory? Will it be Ishmael? Will it be Shanaka Clay to the line? Who's going to just about have it? It's pretty much neck and neck. It's Ishmael Fassi. Ishmael Fassi wins by 18 thousandths of a second here for the opening round of the ECS Championship. Louis Valentine on the podium for F7R.
What a race there from the community teams SRC and F7R, getting both drivers on the podium. For a moment, it looked like Louis Valentine might have been screwed out of potentially getting himself a great result here, but he's managed to get a great recovery drive back up there to get P3. And Ishmael Fassi just beating Shanaka Clay on the line. A little bit of, you know, gamesmanship, a little bit of strategic management of the DRS. Absolutely brilliant stuff there. Ishmael played it beautifully, understood his role, understood that Shanaka couldn't wait forever, and ended up picking his opportunity at the right moment to get a little beautiful jump there. And a driver of the day, I feel like you can't argue against it, can you?
You can't, no. Absolutely superb. Started, I believe, in P11. It was obviously been knocked out in Q2. We're thinking, is this it for Ishmael's hope of a victory? But no, he got it in the end, and he takes 35 points away for the Williams team, along with King got up in P6, who will take an extra 18 away. So this will be lots of points for the Williams team going in towards the next round. But it'll be Williams on top ahead of SRC Shanaka Clay in second, and F7R first race here, along with SRC, of course, getting onto the podium with Luke Smith in the top 4 after being knocked down to P16 earlier earlier on with the contact with Matt's Grospointer, so very good recovery for him. Then Nicholas Longe in the top 5 Ferrari, followed by Williams Racing's Keen Gundup, NVR's Timo Zelenkovic, Race Coach's Reece Linton, Tiger Hardy for F7R, and obviously Ferrari's Istvan Puk in the top 10. So that's what, only 3 teams there getting all drivers into the top 10, which is very good for obviously F7R, Ferrari and Williams. And we can see Riccardo Benzoni, Tony Roche, T.S. Korsman, Thomas Lamminen, Leo Lund, Max Grospointer, Julian Kaffenbach. All right, finishes and we lost. I think Jan did finish, but he left the game too early. So then we did lose obviously Valentin and Nick Bonventer in that race. So, well, it was a very, very exciting opening round here, and we had a bit of a shaken up grid. F7 on the podium.
Yeah.
SRC on the podium. Obviously, Shunek, okay, I think we all expected to see him get himself up towards there, but this championship, Josh, could be absolutely mega with what? That 6, 7 teams in the top 10 after the first round at a very interesting circuit.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a mixed grid as well, but I don't feel like we can read too much into that qualifying session because we're looking at where we started on the grid positions: 11th, 4th, 1st, 3rd, 13th, 5th, 10th, 8th, 9th, 12th for the top 10.
Yeah,
I'm not sure whether qualifying is going to be a great indicator for who the race winners are going to be. Looking forward for predictions for this season. I'm not going to lie, Richie, because the way some of those drivers drove tonight, it was absolutely outstanding. Brilliant mix of strategies as well throughout the entire grid. It was the hard, soft, and medium strategy which won it overall with Ismail Fassi. But looking all throughout the grid as well, there was some very interesting ones. We ended up getting a lot of hard, mediums, where realistically they could have swapped out that first stint on the hard compound tyre with a soft tyre. If only they knew a safety car would come out and change the course of this race, I'm sure most of them would have started on the soft tyre at that point.
Indeed, yeah, it was a very good opening round. Also, we're going to see if we get an interview from the top 3, obviously being Isma, Shonika, and Louis. But obviously, we don't always get an interview. We sometimes do, but we don't always. So we'll have a little look. Nicely. Oh yeah, of course we can. We can see a little bit further down.
Well, I'll tell you what we can do. In the meantime, while we're waiting, try and get a little inside information from some of these drivers. We can perhaps talk to you guys about what might be the greatest chair ever made, and it's the one Nathan Richardson's sitting on at the moment. Yeah,
it's a brilliant chair. I've had it for a year and a half, and that's when I joined PSGL, and it's still in good nick, considering I'm quite a larger person as well. It's held me quite well. So, I know there's a lot of smaller people around than me. So
your darts as well. I've seen a couple of your darts miss the board and bounce back at you, and
2 of them did hit the chair there once. Went into the back of it. It made a little bit of a hole, but it's nothing too much.
I mean, you are throwing a javelin at it at that point.
True.
Come on.
Well, I didn't throw it at the chair; it bounced off. But these chairs are absolutely amazing. Honestly, if you're gonna look at getting a new chair, whether it's for you or a friend, a family member, please get one of the GT Omega ones, because also this is the only chair they have. They have absolutely tons. They have custom. I believe you can get a custom themed one. They have lots of different games and movie themed chairs. They have their it's a new stealth chair. Honestly, there's a lot to choose from. This is one of the basic models, I believe. This GT Omega gaming chair.
Not only that as well, we've got the wheel stands, we've got the racing seats, we've got the sim cockpits as well. There's an awful lot which you can look into over at our website. And if you do go and have a look, don't forget, use code PSGL, get yourself a cheeky discount. Because at the end of the day, you've had a discount. Why wouldn't you? You're part of a family here at PSGL. You're part of a community. You owe yourself one.
Indeed. And we're going to drag up a person. We've got Ismail Fassi in the waiting room.
Beautiful.
Ismail, welcome into the commentary box. How are you doing?
Hello, night.
You happy with that result?
I'm happy.
Yeah, I think it went quite well. Obviously, qualifying didn't go quite well. Talk to us through what happened in that qualifying session.
Well, I was 2 tenths up on my Q2 lap time. So, I mean, just by securing the castle section and last corner would have been through. But Timur DNF'd in front of me. I just lost all my time there. Didn't make it by 1,000, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, that really hurt a bit. It happened the same to, I think, both Ferrari guys. So, yeah, it was unlucky in qualifying. But, well, in the race, everything changed. The first safety car, I went for softs because I needed track position, and I was going to lose position in the pits because of Kian in front of me. and yeah, tried to do my moves. Made it until behind him, I believe. Went for the undercut, and later on that late virtual safety cut that made Louis and Shanaka be in front of, well, close to, Shanaka was in front and with fresh attires, so we couldn't gap them with the undercut. So yeah, it was kind of tough to keep with them. With Shanaka last 2 laps, he was pushing. Even though I was high on wings, it was really hard to keep him close just because of the tire advantage. But yeah, he made a mistake in the last lap before castle section, so I got closer to him. He tried to let me go to take the DRS, but in the end, yeah, I just stayed behind him. He didn't brake check me at all. So yeah, GG's to him. It was a tough race, not gonna lie. And yeah, Kian P6, I believe. So we've scored most points.
Yeah, I
think
it's
with
like,
most points.
I think it's like 55 points or something like that. So yeah, it was a very good opening round indeed for the team. Do you think that you could have got pole if you made it through to Q3?
I think so, yeah. Quali pace wasn't bad. I was just, well, the lobbies before the real session, I was not kind of nailing the laps, but pace was there, I'm sure. And yeah, in Q2, I was already confident that I was gonna get it into Q3 with that 2/10. Well, improving my lap, but I didn't in the end because of that DNF car in the castle section. But yeah, top 4 would have been there, I'm sure. Top 3.
Yeah, I think you did a perfect job. So well done on the victory. Anything from you, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, dare I say, firstly, congratulations and brilliant drive. But I've noticed you put in one of the chats about the medium tires after 10 laps. They were kind of losing the will to live. Do you reckon that if maybe you had to go maybe another 3-4 laps, that you would have been under a lot more pressure from the likes of Louis, from the likes of Shinanka, who were on the fresher tires? Do you reckon you just had that little bit extra in the bag on the tire just to make sure it could last those couple extra laps if, let's say, the VSC didn't slow the pace down, if there wasn't another safety car?
I'm sure it would have been tough as well. But yeah, having both of them on fresher tires on our group was not ideal because the tire advantage is quite insane here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what could have happened. Luke and Louis behind me, they had a tough fight last 2 laps. So I don't know. It could have been me or I don't know, whoever. But it was still tough.
Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely brilliant regardless, mate. So fair play and congratulations once again, right on the line. It was a very great race from all the drivers involved, and also from Shinanka Clay, who's also joining us at this moment in time as well. I mean, how was the battle between you guys? How did you find that for both of you?
I knew he was gonna push because he's got the fresher tires. He's in front of me, and he will try to push. When I saw the gap after finishing sector 1, I said, I'm not winning this. But yeah, after that little mistake, chances got higher. So yeah, kind of lucky for me.
Lovely. Shinanka, how about yourself? How was it battling with Ishmael right at the line there?
Yeah, I think it's quite a classic when it comes to Baku. You know, you go back to the Lance Stroll Valtteri Bottas back in whatever year it was, 2017 maybe. It's a classic move, and I knew it was coming after I made the mistake in the second sector. I think I was out that. It was, you know, definitely in my hands, but one little slip, and that's all you need. The DRS was just too powerful, so tried to play some games, but Ismail was wise to it, so GG to him for coming out on top just about at the end.
Josh?
Brilliant stuff. Yeah, back over to you, Richie. Both questions I need to ask. I just need to know how it felt just right on the line because looking at it from the outside perspective, it was just absolutely fantastic. The entire race was, but what a way to finish a first race of the season for both these drivers.
Indeed. So, Ishmat, thanks for joining us. But Shanak, I still have a question for you, if you don't mind staying around. So, obviously, going in towards that race, obviously, what was it? Was it P2 for qualifying? I've completely forgot now. That's not good, is it?
Fourth, I started fourth.
So
Yeah.
obviously you was on, I think he was in P2, wasn't you? Obviously you and Ricardo at the start of Q3, but then going towards the end, you didn't quite get those final runs in. Do you think it was the fact of you couldn't improve, or was it just everyone was just a lot quicker?
No, we definitely had the pace of pole, but a little bit of mistakes throughout the lap kind of threw it away. We were only like just over a tenth, and I'm pretty sure I just threw 2 tenths just through mistakes in that lap alone. So it's just one of those tracks where I think PBs are really kind of irrelevant as long as you sort of deliver on your lap. It's just the nature of the circuit, you know, trying to be brave through the castle section, etc. Just didn't pull off that sort of clean lap, but still good enough to start, you know, up the front and try and stay out of trouble. I think it's always been the case on this game. The pace has always been good, but if you get caught in the wrong trains where you probably shouldn't be, it just turns into chaos, and that very nearly happened with Julian going along in the hards, and that severely damaged my race. And I think it would have been a much more simpler sailing for me towards the end of the race without that. But yeah.
Yeah, indeed. I think obviously P4, P2, obviously in the race for your first race for the obviously SRT, very brand new team. Do we expect to see you again more this season?
I'd hope so. I think the majority of the tracks I've got some sort of experience since we're a fair bit through the game cycle now. So yeah, look forward to competing. I've got a lot of leagues to juggle at the moment. I feel as if I'm talking to you a lot more these days. But yeah, we'll try and enjoy the rest of the season. I can assure you, you'll be seeing plenty more of me.
Yeah, indeed. So Shanika, thanks for joining us. We will hope to see you again next time. Have a good one.
Cheers, mate.
Right, and we'll move ourselves back over towards the intermission screen. And you can see our faces for one last time in this evening, which many of you probably don't want to see. So I'm very sorry about that.
No,
but,
so yes. There you go. Can look at our beautifully dressed tiger in the hashtag ads Sim Racing Centre merch instead of me. But what a way to kick off E-Series, Richie. Well, I mean, that was absolutely fantastic. I don't feel like...
But my internet didn't quite
yes.
Did it? Discord, internet, and my own fault for not uploading the right things onto the OBS wasn't ideal. I saw the message at that point, I thought, oh great, here we are. So it was live maintenance mode for a second, which I'm not very good at doing under pressure. So luckily everything went fine. I'm hoping I got the SRC logo everywhere where it needed to be by the end. But I think, to kick off this season, we had season 1. I only joined in halfway in the commentary box. It was a brilliant way to, that season at the end was brilliant. Season 2 was absolutely amazing. But this season, yet again, has completely topped that. Both of them. It was absolutely amazing to start off the season with many different teams being in that position to try and fight for it. Last season, Ferrari, there was 1 and 3, then it was 1 and 4, 2 and stuff like that. Every single race, and they kind of just blew it away. But here, we've seen S7 on the podium, SRC. Williams obviously got, I believe, will be leading the championship going into the next round. Racecook still got a decent haul of points. So I think into this, going into this season, obviously it's a longer calendar as well, with it being 11 races. So I think we could see many teams fight for the championship, and yeah, I think this season's going to be absolutely electric. I think the chat also knew it earlier on. Obviously, we saw a lot of hop earlier on with, obviously, we had crashes, safety cars. Obviously, I don't think that's going to happen every week. So if you're here for crashes, don't come back next time, because I'm sure that that's not going to happen. It's Baku, it's normal, unless we have Monaco, which I don't believe is on the calendar. But yeah, I think it was a brilliant way, Josh, to start off the season.
Absolutely, and I feel like you summed it up best as well. Just the uncertainty. I mean, I drew to it at the end of a race. No driver in that top 10 finished where they qualified, and end of the day, it might be a little bit because it's Baku and it's a bit different. It's a bit quirky compared to some of the other tracks as well. But it's just that unknown aspect. We don't have, that lead team to be able to make a charge into the distance. Everyone is competitive. All the drivers are at such an incredible and talented level that they can all hop into the cars. They can all do great laps in qualifying. But if they don't put the effort in, they don't put the hours in practice, you can slowly see them falling back through the grid. And it really just goes to show the dedication to some of these smaller teams, the smaller drivers, the drivers which aren't necessarily, racing for the likes of Ferrari, Williams, F7R, great example, community team. absolutely went out there and smashed it. They should be over the moon with their performance. I feel like it's only the start for them, and I feel like it's only the start as well for SRC. I feel like there's a lot more to come from both of them, and by the looks of it, Ferrari might have a bit of catching up to do. I wonder if we're going to get Lewis Hamilton into a sim racing seat before the actual car.
Give him a bit of testing, I suppose. But then again, I'm sure the thing is, the engineers at Ferrari Esports are better than the engineers at Ferrari IRL. So maybe, we could see better strategies. Maybe Hamilton won't be left 7 seconds in the pits. Maybe that's a possibility.
Hurts just a little bit, but I reckon if you put Nicholas Longo in the Coruscant of Hamilton for next year, I'm telling you, he's championship contender material. But I feel like that's enough from us.
Yes, definitely. I think it's been a brilliant way to start it off. Obviously, thank you everyone for joining in the live chat as usual. Obviously, also thanks to you who've joined in on Twitch. I can see every time we stream, we're getting more views over there, which is great to see. Obviously, getting onto that different platform. Obviously, thanks you to all of you on YouTube as well. We're not going to leave you, alone. We're going to thank you as well. It's been a brilliant way to start off. So we're going to leave you here now. Obviously, we haven't got much PSGL, have we, Josh? Because we've got the season break. So there's no PS, there's no PC, but there is PCF1, which is back again for the mystery round next week. And Josh, tell us, what do you think it's going to be? And we'll see if next week if you're right. What's the mystery track going to be at PSGL F1 next Wednesday?
Oh, well, considering it's driver vote.
Mm-hmm. Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not going to be Baku, right? Because they had a bit of a moan about it being Baku here at E Series. I reckon they're just going to be a bit boring, I reckon we're going to say Silverstone.
See, I'm going to go for Jeddah.
Oh, okay.
It's a completely different circuit, but I think Jeddah's
All
very
right.
good.
Okay.
So
we'll the geographically closest country they race in to our pick. The other one has to do some sort of forfeit. We'll think about it.
That's going to be brilliant, isn't it? Because it's going to end up being me that has to do it. I'll guarantee it. But yes, there we are. Finally, that is enough from us. We'll be back next week. So obviously, make sure to keep yourself tuned, everyone. Obviously, you'll see the lineups coming out now around next Thursday, next Friday. So make sure to keep yourselves tuned for that. And yeah, we'll see you again next week. So have a good one, and we'll see you then. Good night.
Good night.